Chapter 1865. The arm of the ferocious ape that had been smashed to pieces was then regenerated amidst the dark grey runes. Its ferocious eyes stared closely at Du Xiaofu, rippling violently. An evil creature at the master region level. Du Xiaofu's eyes rippled as he looked at the huge ferocious ape. This evil creature's energy body had actually reached the master region level. It was undoubtedly the strongest evil energy body he had encountered along the way. This evil energy body is different. Be careful. Qi Yeshi arrived at Du Xiaofu's side and frowned slightly when she sensed the power of the ferocious ape's energy body. Take care of yourself, Du Xiaofu said to Qi Yeshi. Human, you're courting death. As Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the ferocious ape spoke in human language. Its huge body carried a terrifying cold aura as it condensed a fist. The cold aura runes intertwined and enveloped Du Xiaofu like a storm. Let's see who's going to die. Du Xiaofu's purple robes fluttered as his hand seals changed quietly. A palm print met the ferocious ape's attack with lightning, accompanied by silver arcs of electricity. Bang! As the collision exploded, the ripples in the air dissipated in an arc. The ferocious ape's fist was shattered by Du Xiaofu once again. Whoosh! The ferocious ape's body was pushed back. Its arm that had been smashed by Du Xiaofu attempted to regenerate at the same time. Break for me! Du Xiaofu's figure was like a ghost, drifting like a deity. Suddenly, golden light burst out, and the sky-shaking wings flapped out. Boom! A peerlessly overbearing and fierce aura swept out as layer upon layer of golden talisman markings swept out like the golden wings of a roc. Under the instinctive terror in the ferocious ape's eyes, the ferocious ape's body was directly shattered by the sky-shaker wings. Although Du Xiaofu hadn't used any of his final killing moves in this attack, he didn't hold back at all. This evil ferocious ape's energy body was extraordinary. However, it could be said that Du Xiaofu's current strength was unlikely to find anyone below the Saint Realm who could match him. This evil ferocious ape's energy body was clearly not enough. Whoosh! The ferocious ape was shattered. The cold energy whistled like a tornado, the wind, and the clouds as it appeared in the sky. You can't escape. Du Xiaofu raised his head and electric arcs surged out of his eyes. Suddenly, a bolt of silver lightning shot out from his forehead. Chi! The silver lightning pierced through the void, and a mighty pressure descended, causing the void to tremble. Then, silver lightning spread out in all directions, as if the void had turned into a silver sea of lightning. Natural. Why? Phew! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath when the last energy body was completely devoured. A smile appeared on his resolute face. Once he completely refined such a powerful energy body, the benefits he would obtain would definitely not be small. We're almost there. Hopefully, there won't be any stronger evil creatures ahead. Qi Yeshi's brows were still furrowed as she stared at the stars floating in the void. The pressure was getting stronger and stronger. Now that they had encountered a domain realm evil energy entity, Qi Yeshi knew that if Du Xiaofu hadn't been by her side this time, it would have been extremely dangerous for her to enter this place. She definitely wouldn't have had it so easy. The closer they got to the outer star, the stronger the evil energy became. Qi Yeshi couldn't help but worry that even stronger evil energy would appear. If a stronger evil energy appeared, the consequences would be extremely troublesome. The outer star, were finally almost there. Du Xiaofu wasn't nervous, nor was he too worried. Instead, he looked at the outer star floating not far ahead. It was like a bright moon hanging above his head, as if it was within his reach. The terrifying pressure made one's heart feel like it was being crushed by 1,000 tons of force. Just looking at it would make one feel breathless. This made Du Xiaofu even more expectant. The outer star was definitely a treasure. Whoosh whoosh, the two continued forward. As the pressure grew stronger, it became more and more difficult for them to fly in the air. In the end, as a precaution, the two decided to fly at a low altitude to conserve their strength. Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi were cautious along the way. However, the strange thing was that as they got closer to the outer star, the two of them didn't encounter any more evil energy entities. A few hours later, the two of them rested on the mountain top and prepared to return to their peak state before setting off again. Phew! Exhaling a mouthful of turbid qi, Qi Yeshi withdrew her hand seal and stood up. Looking ahead, she said, "We're almost there." As Qi Yeshi stood up, Du Xiaofu leapt up. The golden light retracted, and the light in his eyes dimmed. He immediately arrived beside Qi Yeshi, looking ahead with ripples in his eyes. In front of them was a chain of mountains. The outer star was alternating between light and darkness. It was like a bright moon falling from the sky. The light flickered and was dazzling. The vast might caused Du Xiaofu's heart to tremble even with his current cultivation. Even from a distance, he could feel a terrifying energy ripple contained within the stars in the sky. So that's the outer star. Du Xiaofu rubbed his hands, and a blazing light appeared in his eyes. After running around in the heavenly star's secret realm for so long, they were finally going to reach the outer star. I keep feeling that something is strange. It's been a long time since I've encountered those evil energy entities. Qi Yeshi had been worried all this time. They were getting closer and closer to the outer star, but they hadn't seen any evil energy entities for a long time. This was completely different from what the elders in her family had warned her about. Qi Yeshi couldn't help but worry. "We'll deal with whatever comes our way. Just be careful," said Du Xiaofu. "That's the only way." "Be careful," said Qi Yeshi. "Let's go." Du Xiaofu smiled. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot, and a golden light shot out from the soles of his feet. His figure turned into a golden ray of light, and he shot toward the outer star like a bolt of lightning. Qi Yeshi followed closely behind him. The mountains were vast, but with Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi's speed, they appeared at the end of the mountains in a moment. The floating outer star seemed to be even larger at this moment. It was like the bright moon had fallen in front of them. It was incomparably vast, and its terrifying aura was majestic and intimidating. However, just as the two of them reached the end of the mountain range and saw the land of stars in front of them, the void in front of them suddenly trembled incessantly. Then, a series of ear-piercing roars sounded from the void above. Whoosh! In a short moment, a cold aura appeared above the void like a gust of wind, causing the void to tremble. The cold aura shrouded the sky and covered the sun. It even covered the light above the outer star. Under the ear-piercing roar, waves of cold energy appeared above the void like tornadoes. Then, many ferocious energy entities appeared. "Humans, you're courting death." The roar resounded, and a loud laughter like rolling thunder descended from the void. It shook the void, and ripples spread out like ripples. Chapter 1866. A dark red figure appeared in front of the many malevolent energy bodies. It was a middle-aged man dressed in dark red battle armor. He was standing on the back of a huge, malevolent lizard-like energy body. The lizard-like energy body was like a mountain in the sky. Its extended tongue was covered in serrated teeth, and its entire body was covered in sinister barbs. Its eyes shone with a frightening light, and the void around it rippled as a vortex appeared. This lizard-like energy body was the one that had escaped from Qi Yeshi and Du Xiaofu not long ago. A large number of malevolent energy bodies floated in the void, and behind them was the huge outer star. The malevolent energy bodies roared at the sky, and a chilling aura filled the sky. Strange runes filled the air, and it was extremely frightening. This scene also caused Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi to stop in their tracks. Looking at the malevolent energy bodies in front of them and feeling the chilling aura that filled the sky, surprise flashed in their eyes. They couldn't help but be moved. In particular, the middle-aged man in battle armor standing on the back of the malevolent lizard-like energy body made Du Xiaofu raise his eyebrows. That terrifying chilling aura filled the air. Compared to the energy body of the ferocious ape that they had killed and devoured several hours ago, which was no weaker than the domain realm, it was far more powerful. Why are there so many evil energy bodies? Qi Yeshi's expression changed. At this moment, there were no less than a few hundred evil energy bodies in front of them. They were all malevolent beasts, and many of them were extremely large. According to what Qi Yeshi knew, the closer one was to the outer star, the stronger the evil spirits would be. However, this also made other evil spirits not dare to approach. These evil spirits were all devouring each other to strengthen themselves. Therefore, it was almost impossible for them to gather together on such a large scale. At this moment, sensing the vast and terrifying cold aura, apart from the middle-aged energy body in the lead, Qi Yishi also looked behind the middle-aged energy body in the battle armor. There was a huge black dragon and a huge grey python behind the middle-aged man in battle armor. Their auras distorted the space around them. They were no weaker than the young man in battle armor, and they were no weaker than the ferocious ape that Du Xiaofu had killed not too long ago. An evil energy body that is no weaker than the Overlord realm. Du Xiaofu stared at the middle-aged energy body in shock. This was the first time he had seen an energy body that had taken a human form in the Heavenly Star secret realm, and from Du Xiaofu's aura, Du Xiaofu felt that it was no weaker than the Lord realm. It was probably not something an ordinary Lord realm cultivator could compare to. It was not something an ordinary Lord realm cultivator could compare to. The domain realm. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly when he sensed the aura of the black dragon and the grayish-white python behind the middle-aged energy form. There were also several hundred other energy bodies gathered together. None of their auras were weak. It looks like something really has happened. Du Xiaofu licked his lips after looking around. This large group of evil energy bodies did not make Du Xiaofu too fearful. On the contrary, his eyes surged with a blazing fighting spirit. We're in trouble. Qi Yeshi spoke from Du Xiaofu's side. She frowned. She knew that a fierce battle was unavoidable from the dense group of evil energy bodies hovering in the sky. It was no wonder that sovereigns from the school of Yin Yang had died here in the past. Even the elders of the school of Yin Yang would struggle to deal with so many evil energy bodies, especially the ones at the front. The several hundred evil energy bodies hovered in the air. The huge black dragon and the huge grey python stared at Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. Their huge, ferocious eyes were chilling. The middle-aged man in dark red battle robes stepped on the evil lizard energy body. His battle robes fluttered slightly, and the void around him was distorted. A terrifying cold aura was released like a storm. The middle-aged energy body looked quite handsome and even had a hint of evil charm. It was as if he had walked out of hell. It's been a long time since a human came here. You seem to be quite strong, but you can't leave now that you're here. Killing you should be able to help me advance further. The middle-aged energy body in battle robes spoke in a faint voice. His eyes swept over Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi as if he was sizing up his prey. It was obvious that the middle-aged energy body was the leader of these evil energy bodies. He should be the strongest. I'm afraid you're not strong enough to kill us. However, I should be able to benefit a lot from killing you. Du Xiaofu looked at the middle-aged energy body in battle robes, smiled, and said softly. Is that so? We'll know once we try. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the smile on the face of the middle-aged energy body in battle robes slowly froze, and a sinister look appeared on his face. As his voice fell, his figure abruptly shot out from the back of the evil lizard energy body, and his figure abruptly disappeared as if he had vanished into thin air. Be careful. Just as the middle-aged energy body disappeared, Du Xiaofu's voice immediately sounded. At the same time, Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and stepped forward. Almost at the same time, he blasted a punch into the void in front of him. Boom! The punch rippled with golden light and shattered the void. Qi, as the void rippled, a cold aura emerged from the depths of the void and turned into a fierce claw. It pierced through the void like 5 sharp swords, and wherever it passed, pitch-black cracks appeared. Not weak. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. The energy body in the lead was indeed not weak, and he didn't feel like this energy body was lacking in intelligence. While secretly surprised, Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed. Profound qi surged, and runes gushed out. The fist in his hand turned into a palm, and the palm print shone with golden light. This was the Shaoyang seal. It was extremely strong and domineering, and it collided with the attack. Rumble, a muffled sound rang out in the void as the cold energy and the golden light shot out. This kind of collision instantly made the void feel as if it was about to shatter. Qi. In the shattered void, the middle-aged energy body in battle robes strangely appeared. His eyes were sinister, and his figure appeared in front of Du Xiaofu like a bolt of black lightning. A cold aura pierced through the void like a thunderbolt and appeared in front of Du Xiaofu's forehead in an instant. The cold aura was extremely sinister and carried a terrifying aura. The surrounding void was faintly discernible and shattered. His speed is really fast. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. This evil energy body was powerful, and his speed was strange. He didn't dare to be careless. A silver arc of lightning rushed out from between his eyebrows. It was dazzling and blazing, and it instantly collided with the cold aura. A vast aura of thunder erupted. It was the silver net-souled devouring thunder, the nemesis of the cold aura. It easily resisted the cold aura. The middle-aged man in battle robes let out a soft sound of surprise. He seemed to have sensed something, and his figure floated in the void in a daze. Chapter 1867. Spirit Thunder Aura. Then, he looked at Du Xiaofu. The middle-aged man in the dark red battle suit narrowed his eyes, and there was fear in his eyes. "You don't look like you're lacking intelligence," Du Xiaofu said. Judging from the middle-aged man's reaction, he definitely didn't look like someone lacking intelligence. "Humph, you have spirit thunder, huh? You've delivered yourself to me. Even the heavens are on my side." Hiding the fear in his eyes, the middle-aged energy body in the battle suit stared at Du Xiaofu with a hint of passion in his gloomy eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand and a bestial roar rang out, "Kill!" Roar. As soon as the middle-aged man's voice fell, the void shook violently. The roar was ear-piercing, and terrifying auras erupted. The cold aura swept out like a tidal wave, and the runes and cold aura soared into the sky and covered the sun. Roar. The energy bodies of the black dragon and the grayish-white python had already taken the lead to attack Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. That ferocious lizard energy body and hundreds of evil energy bodies followed closely behind. They came crushing down in a mighty manner. Even Du Xiaofu couldn't help but frown when he saw this scene. This was especially true for the black dragon and the grey python. Both of their auras were at least at the domain realm. In the outside world, such strength was enough to shake the entire 9 provinces. "Be careful," Du Xiaofu reminded Qi Yeshi. As soon as his voice fell, he leaped out first. Golden light erupted as the great rock's chaos-crushing claw distorted the void and grabbed at the black dragon energy body with unparalleled force. At the same time, dazzling runes spread out from Qi Yeshi's body. Yin and Yang auras surged and shrouded her. Her clothes fluttered, and the multicolored light around her body was like the fluctuations of stars. She had an extraordinary and holy aura. With a wave of her wrist, she formed a hand seal. Mysterious runes surged out of this hand seal. It was like the light of the stars in the night sky. A vast aura covered the sky and covered the earth, directly suppressing the grayish-white python. This was the brilliant star seal. Qi Yeshi did not hold back and used her full strength. The terrifying hand seal swallowed the void and suppressed the sky as it collided with the grayish-white python. The energy body of the python was not ordinary. It hissed savagely, its scarlet tongue flicking, and cold energy billowed out of its bloody mouth. It blocked Qi Yeshi's brilliant star seal. Hiss! The giant tail tore through the air and shot out from the broken runes like a bolt of lightning, instantly arriving in front of Qi Yeshi. The grayish-white python's Yeshi. Qi Yeshi's body was wrapped in starlight, and a handprint quickly condensed. A small energy storm seemed to have formed in her delicate palm, and a dazzling energy rune swept out from the energy storm. It seemed to have passed through space, and finally shot toward the huge tail. The two collided in an instant. The giant tail was pierced through by Qi Yishi, but a terrifying wave of frigid energy erupted and transformed into a storm. The grayish-white runes burned brightly, and the cold energy spread out like a raging tide. Qi Yeshi retreated rapidly, but she was also affected. She staggered back, and the starlight on her body dimmed. Her beautiful face changed color. Boom! Du Xiaofu shattered the black dragon with a claw and landed beside Qi Yeshi. The shattered black dragon energy body recovered after being caught. It roared savagely, and its eyes were filled with unwillingness. "Are you okay?" Du Xiaofu asked Qi Yeshi. He waved his purple robe, and golden light rushed out, protecting the surrounding void. "I'm fine. But there are too many evil creatures. We have to fight a fierce battle." Qi Yeshi stabilized her body and looked at the densely packed malevolent energy bodies with a grave expression. "Whoa!" After a short pause, the malevolent lizard energy body and the densely packed evil energy bodies arrived in an instant. "Hulala!" Du Xiaofu waved his hand fiercely, and a domineering and ferocious aura suddenly spread out from his body and swept out, causing the space to tremble. A faint golden light gushed out, and the golden talisman's secret patterns flickered and condensed, forming an arc-shaped golden space dent around his palm. It was densely packed and layered, like the golden wings of a golden-winged rock. As Du Xiaofu's hand seal streaked across the space, golden light burst out and illuminated the sky. It was like a golden bomb had exploded in the void in front of him. Rumble, golden runes overflowed and waves of air surged. A large area of space was swept away, leaving behind traces of a vacuum. It was a terrifying scene. The terrifying golden energy was incomparably domineering, and it was like a shock wave in the void. Many of the evil energy bodies were powerful, but they were also drowned by the golden shock wave. Woo! Many screams and roars were heard. Many energy bodies were shattered, and the lizard energy body was the first to be shattered. Du Xiaofu's purple robe fluttered, and golden light surged out of his eyes. His aura was domineering. Woo! However, the evil energy body that had been shattered was soon restored to its original state. "Humans, you won't be able to struggle for long." The middle-aged energy body in dark red armor sneered and stared greedily at Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. He said in a sharp and eerie voice, "Kill them. Kill them." Woo! The black dragon, the grey python, the ferocious lizard, and the other energy bodies rushed out again, roaring like thunder and stirring up the clouds. "Don't worry about me. I can protect myself for a while." Qi Yeshi frowned and looked serious. She didn't want to distract Du Xiaofu. She had entered the Heavenly Star's secret realm. With her identity, the Yin-Yang school had also prepared. She had brought some trump cards with her, so she could at least protect herself for a while. "Okay, you can protect yourself. Leave the rest to me." Du Xiaofu spoke. He raised his head slightly and looked at the raging tide of energy that was charging towards him once again. With a thought, ancient runes immediately rippled around his body and connected to each other in 8 directions. They transformed into a dazzling divine ring that spread out in all directions. This was the 8 trigrams diagram. Du Xiaofu didn't hold back in the face of the evil energy bodies that blotted out the sky. Rumble! Suddenly, the void rumbled, and there was a sonorous sound of wind and thunder. The 8 trigrams diagram had the roars of thousands of beasts, thunder, mountains, lakes, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning alternating. The sun, moon, and stars changed, and mountains and rivers moved. When the 8 trigrams diagram appeared, it enveloped the surroundings and spread out for thousands of feet. Du Xiaofu was like a holy spirit in the sky. His invisible aura made people tremble in fear, and it also enveloped the middle-aged man in battle armor. The middle-aged energy body in dark red armor trembled, and fear surged in his eyes. The black dragon and the gray python were also frozen in the void and couldn't move an inch in the 8 trigrams diagram. The other energy bodies were also frozen, and fear surged in their terrifying eyes. Break. Numerous strange hand seals condensed. When Du Xiaofu let out a shout, the 8 trigrams diagram underwent a transformation. Lightning and stars descended, as well as raging flames, the roars of 10,000 beasts, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. A vast pressure appeared in the air, as though it was capable of annihilation, enveloping this part of the world. Rumble, the whole void boiled, and the world resonated. The world of the secret realm was also vast and turbulent. Dazzling runes were like a sea, surging with stormy waves. At this moment, the ferocious energy bodies collapsed inch by inch under the terrible power. Then, the ferocious lizard energy body, the gray python, and the black dragon all collapsed one after another. Damned human, the middle-aged energy body in dark red armor roared. His body suddenly swelled in the 8 trigrams diagram, spreading out and covering the sky. A cold aura surged, and dark red light flickered with a cold luster. The runes blazed. In an instant, a cold wind blew in the void, and the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling was ear-splitting. A cold aura rolled down from the sky and hung in the void. It was as if the gates of hell had been opened. At this moment, the middle-aged energy body had become hundreds of meters tall. It was ferocious and frightening. It was dark red like blood, like a ghost king. That terrifying aura made all living creatures tremble. Kill. The giant phantom spoke with a deafening ghostly voice. With a wave of his hand, countless cold bolts swept out like lightning, tearing the void apart. They turned into energy ripples and swept out like a vast ocean. In the end, they condensed into a terrifying dark red blood seal. Woo-woo, this blood seal was shot out. The bloody color overflowed and crushed the void. It was as if a sea of blood was falling. It was incomparably terrifying. Within the 8 trigrams diagram, Du Xiaofu only raised his head slightly and then raised his right hand. In an instant, the void was hazy, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. A vision appeared in the sky like a god. Without a sound, Du Xiaofu slapped out with his palm. There were traces of the 8 trigrams on his palm that condensed in the void. It continuously collided with the blood-colored palm, bringing with it a kind of indescribable power. Qi La, this kind of collision suddenly released a bright light. It was as if a calm and vast sea had suddenly exploded. The runes were shattered, and the waves were magnificent. The blood seal dissipated as soon as it came into contact. It was directly shattered. The giant phantom also shattered. The momentum was irresistible. Human, you can't destroy me. However, as the giant phantom shattered, the monstrous cold energy began to condense again. It even devoured the shattered cold energy in the surroundings, wanting to continue to condense the giant phantom. It's not difficult to destroy you. Du Xiaofu said. As his voice fell, a silver arc of lightning swept out from between his eyebrows. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a shocking scene appeared. A shocking white lightning directly pierced through the void and silently appeared around Du Xiaofu. The silver-white arc of lightning spread out and instantly enveloped the void. The rumbling sound of thunder resounded in the void. The palpitating white lightning intertwined, and a terrifying pressure spread out from it. It was filled with an aura that could destroy one's primordial spirit. The arc of lightning surged and turned into a giant silver-white lightning tree. It was like a demon god in the sky, erupting with earth-shattering lightning. It was as if heavenly lightning had descended, punishing all life. It bloomed branches and scattered leaves, covering the 8 trigrams diagram in the void. Waves of shocking silver lightning energy spread out, as if it had turned into countless silver-white spiritual snakes that shuttled through the void. The oppressive might of the lightning caused one's hair to stand on end and their hearts to turn cold. Under this terrifying lightning, the cold energy in the 8 trigrams diagram in the void boiled. It was an instinctive fear. Chapter 1868. In this short instant, when the silver-white giant lightning tree appeared, the lightning arcs that hid the sky and covered the earth shuttled back and forth like a spiritual root, drawing the surging dark and cold energy. The frightening dark and cold energy was forcibly absorbed by the tree. As the lightning tree appeared, the blood-red figure that was about to recover began to feel fear. It was as if it had been pulled in by a great force, and it was unable to completely condense. It seemed to have been suppressed and drawn in by a natural force. Unable to control itself, it madly shot toward the lightning tree. Rumble, terrifying silver-white lightning swept out, causing the world to tremble violently. The silver-white lightning wreaked havoc, as if countless bombs had exploded within the 8 trigrams diagram. It was ear-piercing and dizzying. Within the 8 trigrams diagram, the vast and terrifying cold energy that covered the sky was directly devoured and absorbed the moment it came into contact with the silver-white lightning arcs. The giant blood-red figure that was about to reform crumbled inch by inch under the devouring and influence of the monstrous silver-white lightning arcs, unable to reform. "No, no. My lord, save me, save me," a shrill voice filled with fear rang out from the monstrous blood-red cold energy. The voice reverberated in the air, and even the rumbling thunder could not drown it out. However, the voice had only just sounded and the monstrous blood-red cold energy was completely destroyed and then absorbed by the silver net soul-devouring lightning. The giant lightning tree stood in the air as lightning arcs filled the sky, like the waves of a silver lake in a sea of lightning. It did not take long for the all-encompassing cold energy to be completely devoured. This scene was simply too terrifying, causing Chi Yeshi's expression to change. She finally felt the terror of the spirit lightning up close. How many people in the world wanted to integrate spirit lightning into their bodies? Not to mention the fact that spirit lightning was extremely rare and could only be found by chance. More importantly, very few people succeeded. Many talented people who wanted to integrate spirit lightning ended up dying in the end. However, the man in front of her had integrated several spirit lightnings into his body. Even with Chi Yeshi's status and experience, she could not help but sigh at this moment. However, there was more joy in the depths of her heart. Walala, the silver-sifting soul-devouring lightning that filled the sky began to dissipate, and the giant lightning tree collapsed. In the end, everything converged, turning into a resplendent silver-white tangible lightning arc that shot into Du Xiaofu's forehead. The yin energy bodies that filled the sky were no longer there, and the dark void around them began to brighten up. What a huge amount of energy! Du Xiaofu exhaled a deep breath of air. His face was a little pale and his face was flushed red. His body and mind were filled with the surging dark and cold energy that had been devoured by the silver net soul-devouring lightning. He had yet to refine it. However, Du Xiaofu knew very well that once he completely refined the surging cold energy in his body, the benefits he would gain from his Yuan spirit would be far greater than what he had gained in the Heavenly Star secret realm. It's an unexpected gain. A smile appeared on his resolute face. Du Xiaofu was very satisfied with his gains. Even if he could not obtain any other benefits from the Heavenly Star secret realm, it would be a worthwhile trip. However, Du Xiaofu did not dare to be careless with the surging cold energy in his body that he had yet to refine. The surging cold energy was no joke as soon as he was affected. He might even suffer from cultivation deviation. It would definitely be extremely dangerous. Things do seem a little bad. There are other energy bodies here. Qi Yeshi stared ahead, but her enchanting face did not relax. She still remained solemn. When the blood-red figure dissipated, it was clearly calling out for other existences. Are there other energy bodies? Du Xiaofu probed with his mind. The cries for help from the blood-red figure naturally did not escape Du Xiaofu's ears. However, Du Xiaofu didn't discover anything when he probed with his mind, and a puzzled expression appeared on his face. Be careful. Let's go ahead and take a look. Du Xiaofu withdrew his mind and carefully moved forward. The enormous outer sky star was suspended in the void. It was incomparably vast and attracted Du Xiaofu's attention. Qi Yeshi was vigilant and did not dare to be careless. She then followed behind Du Xiaofu. The vast outer sky star was suspended in the void. It was shining brightly like a bright moon. The invisible crushing force distorted the surrounding void into a concave shape. Even with Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi's cultivation level, they felt as if they were facing a strong wind. Is this the outer sky star? Finally, the two approached the vast outer sky star. It was suspended in the air and filled with a powerful aura. It made one's heart tremble and beat faster. It's really incredible. Du Xiaofu was also amazed. This huge star was thousands of feet in size and was as majestic as a mountain. Its entire body was irregularly round and there were holes of varying depths on its surface. There were dazzling rays of light flickering on them. If one looked closely, they would discover that those flickering rays of light were actually densely packed runes. These symbols are related to the Star Power Upanishad. If the Star Power Upanishad absorbs this energy, it can increase your power. Qi Yeshi's beautiful face was shocked. Then, she became happy. The symbols on the outer sky star were related to the Star Power Upanishad. And if the Star Power Upanishad absorbed the energy from the outer sky star, it could increase one's cultivation base. Be careful. All of a sudden, Du Xiaofu changed his face in fright. He pulled Qi Yeshi and retreated quickly. Swish! 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 While Du Xiaofu was pulling Qi Yeshi to retreat, the outer sky star began to fluctuate. The tremendous aura began to ripple everywhere like surging waves. Sizzle! Sizzle! In a very short time, the outer sky star was filled with dazzling electric arcs. However, these electric arcs were very strange. They were as dazzling as the stars. The electric arcs were still spreading, filling the void with dazzling electric arcs. They emitted an aura that could make one's primordial spirit tremble. They were like stars floating in the Milky Way, blinking their eyes. Sizzle! 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 The electric arcs intertwined with each other. A terrifying aura spread out, causing Qi Yeshi's expression to change drastically. Du Xiaofu's figure retreated. His eyes stared at the unfolding starlight and electric arcs in front of him. The thunder martial vein in his body was affected and the scarlet demonic monkey primordial spirit in his mind was also affected. What is that? Qi Yeshi exclaimed. She could feel the destructive aura from the electric arcs. That vast aura made her divine soul tremble. Chapter 1869. Spiritual Lightning. It's a bolt of spiritual lightning. Du Xiaofu exclaimed. His eyes narrowed. He did not even need to sense the reaction of his soul or the lightning veins in his body to know that it was a bolt of spiritual lightning that had appeared from the stars. Spiritual lightning. Qi Yeshi was stunned. She had never known that there was a bolt of spiritual lightning in the heavenly Qin's secret realm. Even her father had never told her about it. Walala, the starlight rippled, filling the sky in an extremely short amount of time. It looked like a river of stars had filled the sky. However, the terrifying pressure and soul-shaking presence announced that this was a bolt of spiritual lightning that could destroy all things, not a gentle starlight. Spiritual lightning. Human, you have spiritual lightning. I knew when you came in, hee, the starlight rippled, and a voice that sounded like a woman's voice rang out from the vast expanse of starlight. Violent ripples appeared in the surroundings. Your spiritual lightning? Qi Yeshi asked. Her face was solemn as she stood close to Du Xiaofu. She could sense the terrifying presence and knew just how terrifying this bolt of spiritual lightning was. This bolt of spiritual lightning was probably what the humanoid energy body had asked for help in the end. It was not asking for help from any other energy body, but a terrifying bolt of spiritual lightning. That's right. You can call me spiritual lightning, but you can also call me Lord Tai Chen. However, I don't mind what you low-level creatures call me, let alone you, because you're all going to die anyway. The voice paused for a moment, and the starlight rippled violently. It was like a pair of terrifying eyes had locked onto Du Xiaofu. It said, especially you, human. To be able to kill those energy bodies, your cultivation is indeed extraordinary. You even have spiritual lightning on you. How could those ignorant idiots be a match for you? However, that's not important, because you're also going to die, hee, you were the one who created those energy bodies. Hearing the tone of the spiritual thunder, Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly, narrowed his eyes, and frowned slightly. The invisible aura that spread out from the starlight and lightning arcs that covered the sky was definitely extremely powerful. You can say that I created those energy bodies, but you can also say that I didn't. Strictly speaking, they were attracted and gathered by the meteorite. Over a long period of time, they began to gain sentience, but they were so stupid that they had no intelligence. One day, I woke up and cultivated here. For so many years, I've been hiding in the meteorite. When I was bored, I gave these energy bodies sentience, so that they could help me pass the time. The voice ripple of starlight. The voice became more and more agitated and shrill as it spoke. It continued, but now, there's no need for that anymore. You too are not weak. You even devoured those idiots that were supposed to be devoured by me. Now, I'll refine you, and with the other spiritual lightning, I'll definitely be able to take that step forward. When that time comes, I'll be able to leave this boring space and come out into the world. I'll be able to achieve the name, Tai Chen, he. An intense and sharp sound reverberated in the air like endless thunder. A terrifying arc of starlight rose and fell along with the sound wave, as if the sound wave was surging violently. Just the fluctuating aura alone made Du Xiaofu frown again. Qi Yeshi's face turned slightly pale. The energy bodies in the Tianqin secret territory originally didn't have any intelligence. It turned out that the spiritual lightning was the one who secretly created them. It was hiding in the stars, and the experts of the Yin-Yang school had never discovered it. Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi looked at each other and exchanged glances. Phew! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and suppressed the surging cold energy in his body. He said to Qi Yeshi, protect yourself. Leave the rest to me. With that, Du Xiaofu took a step forward and raised his head slightly. Light began to flicker in his eyes. Be careful. This time, Qi Yeshi didn't say anything. She knew that with the presence of the spiritual lightning, she wouldn't be able to help much. She frowned, but she began to retreat. Protecting herself and not letting him worry was already the best way to help. Hee, the spiritual lightning laughed again. Its invisible eyes stared at Du Xiaofu and said, little human, you have some guts. But I'm really curious how you managed to fuse with a spiritual lightning. You want the spiritual lightning in my body? Du Xiaofu said as he stared at the rippling arcs of starlight. Under those invisible eyes, he felt a little uneasy. If it was someone whose cultivation was not high enough, they would not even have the chance to attack under the influence of those invisible eyes. This spiritual thunder was definitely not an ordinary one. Du Xiaofu didn't find it strange that the spiritual lightning, which called itself Tai Chen, reacted to him. When spiritual lightning devoured each other, it would become stronger and stronger. Back then, when he encountered the heavenly earth thunder and the silver silk soul devouring lightning, they all wanted to devour the spiritual lightning in his body. But in the end, they were devoured by him and he became stronger. Therefore, at this moment, when he encountered this spiritual lightning and felt its presence, Du Xiaofu was a little afraid. His heart was filled with anticipation. His eyes shone with a blazing light. He, little human, you don't deserve our spiritual lightning. So, I will take it back. With the two of you, the heavens are really helping me. His giggles echoed in the air. Is that so? I'm also looking forward to it. Du Xiaofu stepped into the air, his purple robe fluttering. Arrogant and ignorant human. The laughter suddenly changed, and the voice became cold. The starlight and electric arcs fluctuated, and a bright electric arc rushed out. It condensed into a curved saber wrapped in starlight, and it instantly rushed towards Du Xiaofu. This curved warblade was a bit blurry, but the symbols were resplendent and blazing. The aura that accompanied it was shocking, making people feel fear. That kind of aura wanted to destroy the world. It traversed through the void and was incomparable. One could see that wherever it passed, the void would crumble inch by inch. The deathly still and withered earth below was also turning into fine powder. It seemed like it could destroy everything. It was too terrifying. This was the condensed spiritual lightning, and it wanted to kill Du Xiaofu directly. Be careful, Qi Yeshi looked dignified, and her body was wrapped in starlight. At this moment, the aura of the curved saber made her worry for Du Xiaofu. She knew that she couldn't resist that terrifying aura. Du Xiaofu looked serious, but he didn't retreat half a step. His hands formed a seal, and he wanted to fight it head-on. Chapter 1870. Seeing that Du Xiaofu actually wanted to fight it head-on, Qi Yeshi's expression became even more serious. That terrifying spiritual thunder was definitely not to be underestimated. It was much stronger than her granduncle Qi Xingpa's aura. Rumble, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, like rolling thunder. Fierce thunder exploded in the void, shaking the sky. This was not the thunder caused by the spiritual thunder. This was the thunder caused by the lightning runes on Du Xiaofu's body at this moment. Du Xiaofu activated his thunder martial vein, letting out the sound of lightning flashing and thunder rumbling. In an instant, an unparalleled purple arc of lightning rushed out from Du Xiaofu's body. The runes were dazzling, wrapping around his fist. The earth-shaking fist condensed into the domineering fist path, directly blocking the battle blade condensed from the starlight and spiritual thunder. It blocked the destructive momentum of the battle blade. Rumble, this was too terrifying. The two collided, and the sound of wind and thunder was endless. The sky was full of electric arcs, as if the world was about to be turned upside down. An unbelievable scene appeared. The battle blade that could destroy everything clashed with Du Xiaofu's domineering fist path. After a moment of stalemate, the terrifying starlight and electric arcs surged into Du Xiaofu's body. However, it did not harm Du Xiaofu. Instead, it was involuntarily absorbed by Du Xiaofu and then shattered. A thunderous sound of surprise came from the starlight and electric arcs, and a strange fluctuation appeared. Dang dang, Du Xiaofu's body was wrapped by the bright starlight and electric arcs, and his figure also staggered back a few steps. Walala, however, as he stomped on the air and stabilized his body, the starlight and electric arcs on his body were withdrawn, and purple electric arcs appeared. The thunder martial vein wrapped around his body, and his hair fluttered behind him like purple electric arcs. Not bad. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly to look at the overwhelming starlight and electric arcs. He licked his lips and enjoyed it very much. He immediately felt that the thunder martial vein in his body was boiling. However, in his heart, Du Xiaofu was not careless at all. This spiritual lightning was too strong. It was much stronger than the 7-star break. Peak of the Lord Realm. According to Du Xiaofu's guess, this bolt of lightning was probably at the peak of the Overlord region realm. Even though he hadn't sensed the aura of an exalted nirvana exalt from it, as a bolt of lightning, it was a supreme being of this world, so its strength was definitely above 7-star splitter. What a strange martial vein. It gives me a familiar feeling. Brat, you're not from the Yin-Yang school. Who are you? The female voice of thunder rippled through the void. From Du Xiaofu's body, the spiritual thunder seemed to have sensed a familiar aura from the depths of its memory. This aura made it feel familiar yet fearful, fearful yet greedy. The aura made it feel that if it could devour the human in front of it, the benefits would definitely be far greater than devouring any other bolt of lightning. It doesn't matter who I am. Don't you want to refine me? You don't seem to have the ability to do so. Du Xiaofu spoke with a relaxed expression, but he was not careless at all. If he made a mistake and fell into the hands of this bolt of lightning, the consequences would be obvious. There was still surging cold energy in his body that he hadn't refined yet, so he couldn't let any accidents happen. Ignorant brat. The sound of the starlight and electric arcs became sharp. Many bolts of lightning shot out like streaks of starlight, bombarding Du Xiaofu with lightning speed. Come! Du Xiaofu stepped into the air and waved his sleeve. The purple electric arcs on his body became even more resplendent. Sizzle, when the streaks of starlight and thunder came into contact with the purple electric arcs on Du Xiaofu's body, they would erupt with muffled sounds of wind and thunder. Then, they would directly surge into his body and disappear, making the purple electric runes on his body become even more resplendent. The starlight and thunder were terrifying and could destroy everything. When the streaks of starlight fell, it gave people the illusion of a sky full of falling stars, as if they were going to destroy the world. However, when faced with Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein, they were naturally restrained and were devoured by it. Du Xiaofu's physical body, under the forging of the purple gold Xian bomb, was already an indestructible Xian body. The starlight and thunder could destroy everything, but in front of the indestructible Xian body, they seemed to be somewhat frustrated. As the streaks of starlight and thunder struck down, Du Xiaofu stood proudly in the storm like starlight and thunder. This was so domineering that it shocked everyone. However, Qi Yishi was the only one who saw this scene, and she was shocked. Boom! 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 In the starlight and thunder, the streaks of starlight and thunder were like streaks of starlight that constantly exploded around Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu, under the double protection of the lightning martial vein and the indestructible Xian body, stood there calmly. The surrounding starlight and thunder were devoured by the lightning martial vein, causing the purple electric runes on Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein to become even more resplendent. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu seemed to be relaxed, but his brows were slightly furrowed. Previously, Du Xiaofu had swallowed too much yin energy and had yet to refine it. At this moment, he was also affected by the violent impact. This was not a good thing. Du Xiaofu felt a faint pressure and seriousness. Human, your martial vein is special, but you are too greedy. From the moment you entered here, I knew that you had a spiritual thunder in your body, so I purposely let those stupid energy bodies let you devour it. I guess you are not feeling good now, right? Hee, humans are greedy, but humans are insignificant. Die. When these words fell, in an instant, the starlight and electric arcs that occupied the void became even more violent. The streaks of thunder were like falling stars. Bang, 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 the thunder exploded, and the void collapsed inch by inch. Dang, dang, as the space around him collapsed inch by inch and the electric arcs surged, Du Xiaofu was also forced to stagger back. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein and indestructible Xian body could not withstand the violent impact of the spiritual thunder. This is not good, Du Xiaofu frowned, and his face turned pale. The surging cold energy in his body seemed to have sensed an opportunity at this moment, and it began to rampage in his body and mind. Hee, ignorant human, you have tasted the bitter fruit of greed. Once I devour you, I will definitely break through to the Saint Realm. At that time, this space will no longer be able to restrain me. The thunder was like a falling star, bombarding Du Xiaofu indiscriminately. Can you deal with it? This was destruction. Qi Yeshi watched from afar with fear. If this happened outside, the entire school of Yin Yang would probably be destroyed. I have to end this quickly. I can't drag this out any longer. Lightning flashed in Du Xiaofu's eyes as he muttered to himself. This kind of impact had too great of an impact on the surging cold energy in his body. The spiritual thunder had been condensed here for countless years and had grown to the peak of the Master Realm. It was naturally extremely terrifying. Coupled with the cold energy in Du Xiaofu's body, it was even more difficult to deal with. Chapter 1871. Let's go all out. With a decision in his heart, Du Xiaofu did not hesitate any longer. He waved his hand in the midst of the star splendor and thunderbolts that were exploding around him. With a wave of his hand, a purple-gold flowing light immediately spread out from his palm. Bzzzt, the purple thunder profound cauldron instantly appeared in Du Xiaofu's palm. As Du Xiaofu waved his hand and tossed it upwards, it transformed into a huge three-legged cauldron that hung upside down in the air. Rumble. 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 Wind and thunder clanged, and the heavens and earth suddenly trembled violently. Purple-gold thunderclouds gathered out of thin air. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, condensing into a large expanse of purple-gold lightning that occupied the sky. The destructive aura of this lightning made one's heart tremble. Explosions rang out continuously as purple-gold lightning wreaked havoc, as if countless bombs were exploding in the sky. A destructive energy spread out, and the surrounding ancient heaven and earth seemed to be about to be destroyed. If spirit lightning was said to be the supreme living being of this world, then it was a terrifying existence. At this moment, this purple-gold profound lightning was the supreme of supreme beings, and also the supreme of lightning. The might and pressure emanating from the purple-gold profound lightning was not something that the starlight spirit lightning could compare to at all. With Du Xiaofu's current cultivation, activating the purple thunder profound cauldron and using the purple-gold profound lightning was no longer the same as before. It was enough to suppress the starlight spirit lightning. Although Du Xiaofu had many trump cards now, the purple-gold profound lightning was still his strongest trump card. What is that? At this moment, the spirit lightning also immediately felt that terrifying might. Streaks of starlight and lightning rippled violently, and the surrounding lightning space rippled as if the galaxy was shaking. Come on! Du Xiaofu activated the purple thunder profound cauldron, using the purple-gold profound lightning to suppress it. As the vast purple-gold profound lightning spun around the purple thunder profound cauldron, it turned into a lightning black hole. Rumble, the space around the purple lightning profound cauldron collapsed inch by inch to the point where it could not be restored, revealing a heart-palpitating pitch-black color. An enormous devouring power at the starlight and spiritual lightning could not resist surged out and directly swallowed the starlight, lightning, and thunder that covered the sky and earth. Rumble. Thunderous rumbles continued to spread out from the void, causing people's hearts to tremble. The lightning bolts condensed from the purple-gold electric arcs were like purple-gold pythons, exploding in all directions, destroying the starlight and electric arcs. Originally, the streaks of starlight and thunderbolts were like countless falling stars, making it difficult for Du Xiaofu to deal with. However, with the appearance of the purple thunder profound cauldron, the pressure on Du Xiaofu was greatly reduced. He stabilized himself in the void and the thunder marshaled veins around his body continued to devour the starlight and electric arcs. What was even crazier was that the purple lightning profound cauldron was swallowing the starlight spiritual lightning like a tide. It was like a bottomless pit that could not be filled. With Du Xiaofu and the purple thunder profound cauldron as the center, a huge black hole appeared in the void. Countless starlight and electric arcs were devoured and poured into the black hole. Starlight and electric arcs erupted and interweaved resplendently. They wanted to break free from the purple-gold profound bomb and Du Xiaofu's devouring, but they couldn't stop or retreat at all. So familiar. What exactly is that? Boy, who exactly are you? The sharp female voice of thunder echoed. At this moment, the spiritual lightning began to feel fear. From the three-legged cauldron, there was also an aura of fear in the depths of its memory. Now, do you still want to refine me? Du Xiaofu's eyes seemed to contain a sea of purple lightning. The thunder-martial veins in his body absorbed the starlight spiritual lightning, and his entire body was wrapped in starlight and electric arcs. These starlight and electric arcs entered Du Xiaofu's body and caused Du Xiaofu's skin to sink in. Some of his skin even cracked, but then it recovered to normal. This cycle continued. Rumble. The starlight spiritual lightning in the surroundings crazily attacked and destroyed. However, no matter if it came into contact with Du Xiaofu, his body, or the purple thunder profound cauldron, it was like water that came into contact with dry sand. It disappeared in an instant. Human, how about we stay out of each other's business? Let's both take a step back. I won't devour you, and those energy bodies can be considered as a gift to you. How about it? The sharp sound of thunder echoed. The spiritual lightning seemed to want to compromise. Do you think I will believe you? The corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth curled up into a smile. With this spiritual lightning, how could Du Xiaofu believe that the spiritual lightning was so treacherous and cunning that the Yin energy bodies deliberately sent themselves to their deaths to restrain him? He was afraid that once the spiritual lightning found a new opportunity, it would instantly counterattack. At that time, he would be the unlucky one. Rumble, sensing that Du Xiaofu had no intention of compromising, the countless starlight spiritual lightning arcs condensed into huge thunderbolts that were dozens of feet long, and even dozens of feet long. All of them crazily rampaged, and with a continuous rumbling sound, they bombarded Du Xiaofu and the purple thunder profound cauldron. Under the crazy bombardment of the starlight spiritual lightning, Du Xiaofu's body and the purple thunder profound cauldron were also affected and were forced to retreat. Du Xiaofu's body also began to crack and show signs of sinking under the impact of the violent thunderbolts. However, it gradually recovered. Poof! However, at this moment, as Du Xiaofu and the purple thunder profound cauldron were affected, a dazzling electric arc swept out from the starlight spiritual lightning arcs and directly went into the outer star that was suspended in the void not far away. The starlight spiritual lightning arcs that filled the sky then followed into the outer star and disappeared. Then, the outer star's light became much brighter. The purple thunder profound cauldron swallowed the starlight spiritual lightning arcs around it, but it was unable to stop the other starlight spiritual lightning arcs from escaping. Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein was wrapped, and under the effect of the immortal Xian body, his body was just recovering. As the starlight spiritual lightning arcs dissipated, the purple thunder profound cauldron withdrew into his palm. Did the spiritual lightning arcs escape? Qi Yeshi came to Du Xiaofu's side with a face full of shock. The shock on her beautiful face had yet to dissipate. The outer star is the place where the spiritual lightning arcs are hidden. Du Xiaofu looked at the outer star that was suspended in the void in front of him, his eyes flashing with lightning. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Perhaps the outer star is the place where the spiritual lightning arcs were born." Are you saying that the spiritual lightning arcs were born and bred in the outer star? Qi Yeshi's eyes flickered and rippled. She was surprised but not surprised. The stars beyond the heavens were strange and profound. It was possible for it to have given birth to a bolt of spiritual thunder. Otherwise, no one would know where this bolt of spiritual thunder came from. Most likely. If we want to catch it, I'm afraid we have to go in. Du Xiaofu stared at the stars in the sky, and his eyes were burning with passion. Right now, it was no longer the spiritual lightning arcs that wanted to refine Du Xiaofu. Instead, it was Du Xiaofu that wanted to fuse with the spiritual lightning arcs that could only be encountered by chance. According to the signs of fusing with the spiritual lightning arcs in the past, Du Xiaofu estimated that as long as he fused with the spiritual lightning arcs, his soul would probably be able to advance to the next level. In terms of cultivation, coupled with the surging cold energy that he had recently refined, there was even great hope for him to advance further. However, Du Xiaofu was well aware of the danger involved. Although he had successfully fused with several spiritual lightnings, continuing to fuse with spiritual lightning arcs would probably be even more dangerous than before. However, this was an opportunity to strengthen himself and transform again. Du Xiaofu's heart was boiling. If there was an opportunity to advance further and transform his soul, it was far too tempting. It was enough for Du Xiaofu to take the risk. You want to deal with that spiritual lightning arcs? Qi Yeshi stared at Du Xiaofu. That spiritual lightning arcs was very frightening. At the moment, it was afraid of the divine thunder cauldron and Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein and had retreated. However, she did not expect that this guy in front of her had his eyes on that spiritual lightning arcs. I have a way to fuse with the spiritual lightning. Don't worry. Du Xiaofu smiled at Qi Yeshi. Although this was a risky thing, he had the purple thunder cauldron, thunder martial vein, and the mysterious incomplete cultivation method. These were also the capital to take the risk. You still have some cold energy in your body that has not been refined. It will affect you. Why don't you make a plan after refining it? After hesitating for a moment, Qi Yeshi's eyes rippled as she spoke to Du Xiaofu with a serious expression. That spiritual lightning was injured just now. By the time I refine the cold energy in my body, it will have recovered and will be fully prepared. At that time, it will definitely be more difficult to deal with it. Moreover, I'm afraid that it will not give me the time to completely refine the cold energy in my body. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes and looked at the dazzling outer star that was filled with a vast aura. That spiritual lightning was injured by the purple thunder cauldron and was greatly affected. Once it recovered and made new preparations, it would be even more difficult to deal with it. In Du Xiaofu's heart, he did not believe that the spiritual lightning would give him the chance to completely refine the cold energy in his body. That spiritual lightning deliberately let him devour the surging cold energy in order to suppress him. Du Xiaofu did not believe that the spiritual lightning would miss such an opportunity. Although he could completely refine the cold energy in his body in the purple thunder cauldron and believed that the spiritual lightning would not be able to do anything to him, Du Xiaofu did not want the spiritual lightning to be prepared. The outer star is the place where the spiritual lightning was born. Even if it is just a place where it resides, it will definitely be extremely dangerous. Qi Yeshi was still extremely worried. It was almost impossible for a supreme being to completely suppress and merge with such a spiritual lightning. There were even supreme being ancestors of the Yin-Yang school who had died while trying to merge with the spiritual lightning. I will be careful. Wait for me outside. Du Xiaofu lowered his head and kissed the beautiful woman's frowning brows. Then, he looked at the huge outer star in front of him. Purple lightning flashed in his eyes and his body was wrapped in the thunder martial vein talisman. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a flash of purple lightning and swept into the sky. Be careful. I will wait for you here. Qi Yeshi shouted at Du Xiaofu. She did not stop him. She knew what he needed the most now. Qi Yeshi did not follow him. She knew that she could not help him. The only thing she could do now was to wait quietly. Looking at the figure that had turned into a flash of purple lightning, Qi Yeshi's eyes rippled for a long time. Unknowingly, she realized that she was no longer the same person as before. She could no longer help him. He had already caught up with her and was even further ahead than her. I don't want to be further and further away from you. I don't want to be a burden to you. Qi Yeshi's red lips moved slightly as she murmured softly. Chapter 1872. Qi Yeshi looked at the dazzling starlight and rippling energy from the outer star. She then leaped out and arrived under the outer star despite the vast pressure. Feeling the vigorous energy ripples, Qi Yishi's starry eyes shone with determination. This was the greatest opportunity that she wanted to obtain after entering the Heavenly Star's secret realm. Now that the greatest opportunity was right in front of her, Qi Yishi didn't want to hesitate anymore. She sat down cross-legged and formed hand seals. Talisman runes spread out from her body. Yin and yang qi rippled and starlight flowed. She began to absorb the energy from the outer star. She didn't want to be further away from him. Qi Yishi wanted to strengthen herself and absorb the vigorous energy from the outer star to temper her body and increase her cultivation. Whoosh, under the vigorous energy ripples, starlight talisman runes spread out from the outer star. Together with the energy ripples, they enveloped Qi Yishi. When all of this looked at from afar, Qi Yishi seemed like she was amidst a river of stars, and it was pure and dignified. Whoosh, at this moment, Du Xiaofu, who was enveloped by the thunder martial vein, seemed to have turned into a real bolt of lightning. It was as if he had broken through the barrier and entered the outer star. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying energy and vast might swept over and crushed Du Xiaofu's surroundings. On the star in outer space, the place where the star radiance and spiritual lightning escaped into was originally a lightning restriction. It wasn't difficult for Du Xiaofu to enter. Du Xiaofu didn't expect the vast might and energy of the outer star. He almost fell over, and the surging cold energy in his body was affected. However, Du Xiaofu steadied himself. He felt the aura of the starlight and spiritual thunder. He entered through a deep starlight passage, as if he was passing through a starlight path. This starlight passage was deep and boundless. There was only starlight rippling in it. Boom! Occasionally, there would be terrifying thunderbolts gathered from starlight and electric arcs. They would be dozens of feet long and could destroy the physical body of a cultivator. They could even destroy the primordial spirit and cause cracks to appear in the space. They were powerful enough to kill cultivators below the Saint Plane and destroy them into pieces. With the star's splendor spiritual thunder and the power of the outer stars, it was impossible to pass through this star's splendor passage without special means. However, Du Xiaofu was an exception. Not to mention the thunder martial veins and the powerful immortal Xian body in his body, the star ultimacy that he cultivated also came into play at this moment. Du Xiaofu was able to get through the tunnel safely, but his nerves were tense and he didn't dare to be careless. The passageway was very long. Perhaps time was affected by the passageway and became very illusory. After a long time, Du Xiaofu's eyes lit up, as if he had reached the end of the tunnel. Are we almost there? With lightning in his eyes, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly. His feet stepped on the void, and his body sped up. Sizzle, when Du Xiaofu rushed out of the star splendor passage, a dazzling light appeared, forcing him to squint his eyes. It was almost impossible to look directly at it. A terrible destructive power poured down like an avalanche. Rumble. Du Xiaofu was already prepared. He waved his sleeves and used the thunder martial veins to condense the sky-shaking wings, fanning them forward. Rumble, electric arcs surged and thunder rumbled like thunder. Thump, thump, under the impact of the overwhelming thunder, Du Xiaofu's figure also staggered back. Electric arcs surged on his body, and the cracks on his body slowly healed. However, Du Xiaofu's purple robe was already a bit shabby. At this moment, it was completely destroyed. The robe didn't cover his body, revealing his purple gold skin, showing a kind of vigor like a dragon. The purple electric arcs on his body made him even more majestic. As he staggered back, Du Xiaofu realized that he had appeared in a space of star splendor and thunder. The surrounding star splendor and thunder filled the sky like a river of stars. An unusually violent energy that made one's origin soul tremble filled the space. This was the spiritual thunder aura of the self-proclaimed Tai Chen. However, this aura was much more violent than the aura Du Xiaofu felt when he was outside. In the space of star splendor and thunder, there was a star splendor and thunder beast that was more than 10,000 feet tall. It covered the sky. This thunder beast looked like a lightning rabbit, but its body was like a wolf and a tiger. Its fierce eyes seemed to contain two thunder stars, and a terrifying destructive aura fluctuated. This is indeed its territory. Looking at the vast sea of star splendor and thunder, Du Xiaofu didn't find it strange. He just didn't know if this was the hiding place of Tai Chen or if it was the place where Tai Chen was born. Human, you really dare to come in here to die. Hee, you overestimate yourself. An ear-piercing voice pierced through the space, causing large amounts of star splendor and thunder splendor to explode. It was a terrifying scene. At this moment, looking at Du Xiaofu, the star splendor and thunder beast's eyes were filled with greed and anticipation. It didn't think that this human would dare to chase after it. This was its territory, and it had an absolute advantage. Its fierce eyes stared at Du Xiaofu. This was an opportunity that had been delivered to its doorstep. This was its opportunity. As long as it could refine the human before it, it would be able to take another step forward. It would be able to leave this space and look down on the world. I'm afraid you don't have the strength. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, a purple gold light suddenly spread out from his palm. The purple lightning profound cauldron appeared in his palm again. Purple thunderclouds surged around them, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The purple gold lightning arcs were like giant pythons that coiled around the area. Feeling the destructive power of the purple lightning profound cauldron, the thunder beast's fierce eyes suddenly turned ugly. It was filled with fear, but then it lifted its head, and its eyes were gloomy and cold. It said in a deep voice, "Brat, do you really think that you can do anything to me by relying on treasures? This is my territory. Even if you have treasures, it's not enough. Be obedient and let me refine you." Rumble, as soon as it finished speaking, the star splendor and thunder beast's huge body burst out and charged directly at Du Xiaofu. In an instant, the thunderbolts that could topple mountains and overturn seas rushed over like a stormy sea. The terrifying aura froze the surrounding space, and the destructive and majestic energy rushed over, causing one's soul to tremble. Come. Go. Du Xiaofu shouted and threw out the purple lightning profound cauldron in his hand. It turned into a huge three-legged cauldron. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, and a large amount of purple-gold thunderbolts gathered in the sky to form a purple-gold vortex, which continued to devour the surrounding star splendor and thunder. However, at this moment, the star splendor and thunder were much stronger than before. It seemed to have a complementary relationship with the stars in the sky, and its power was even stronger. The blazing star splendor and thunder beast fluctuated violently, and the surrounding space rippled. In the loud rumbling of thunder, electric arcs spread out from the thunder pool, condensing into several hundred feet of thunderbolts. They were like giant pythons that constantly attacked Du Xiaofu and the purple lightning profound cauldron. Under such violent attacks, Du Xiaofu, who was controlling the purple lightning profound cauldron, was constantly pushed back. His body was attacked by the star splendor and thunder martial vein. Even with the indestructible Xian body in thunder martial vein, his physical body was cracked, and his recovery speed was greatly reduced. It was getting more and more difficult. At the same time, the surging yin energy in Du Xiaofu's body was also affected, and it went berserk again. Hee, kid, you're not strong enough. You're digging your own grave. Having gained the upper hand, the thunder beast laughed loudly. It was deafening, and thunder surged. Chapter 1873. Du Xiaofu didn't say anything. His skin cracked from the impact of the starlight and lightning, but his thunder martial vein flickered and swallowed the starlight. His immortal Xian body was also repairing his body. At the same time, a golden light bloomed on Du Xiaofu's body. A strange rune soared into the sky, and his aura surged. In an instant, Du Xiaofu's body was surrounded by dazzling golden feathers, which condensed into a golden armor that covered his entire body. Golden light rippled, and layers of feathers grew out of his body, covering Du Xiaofu's body, forming a magnificent golden armor. Faint cries of the golden-winged roc could be heard, piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks. His domineering aura swept through the void. Du Xiaofu activated the blue spirit armor to block the starlight and lightning around him. Instantly, the pressure on him decreased greatly. Although the blue spirit armor consumed a lot of energy, the defense of the blue spirit armor was not ordinary. The key is here. Yes. Du Xiaofu muttered and raised his head slightly. The purple lightning profound cauldron and the thunder martial vein were already unable to deal with that bolt of spiritual lightning in the stars beyond this sky. He had to use all his strength. Boom! Suddenly, the lightning space trembled for no reason, and ancient runes surged out. Suddenly, a strange pattern appeared in the void. It was formed of mountains and lakes, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning alternating, the sun, moon, and stars changing, and mountains and rivers moving horizontally. This was a void 8 trigrams diagram. With Du Xiaofu as the center, it swept out like a divine ring, filled with bright light, and all kinds of strange phenomena surged out. The huge 8 trigrams diagram spread. The lightning beast seemed to have felt something, and its star-like eyes trembled for no reason. The surrounding void was chaotic. That strange 8 trigrams diagram spread out in a radius of 10,000 feet, and a terrifying aura filled the air. The lightning beast roared, feeling a vast aura starting to suppress it, greatly affecting it and making it tremble secretly. Even the dazzling starlight and lightning on the lightning beast's body began to dim in the face of such power. Du Xiaofu was already using all his strength, using the 8 trigrams profound meaning. In order to completely suppress this bolt of spiritual lightning, he was going all out. Woo! The expression of the lightning beast began to change. It let out a sharp and angry roar. Starlight and lightning exploded. The terrifying power shook the void and destroyed a large area of space. It seemed to want to shatter the void 8 trigrams diagram, but in the end, it did not succeed. Du Xiaofu had the protection of the cyan spirit armor. The star splendor and thunderbolts that struck the cyan spirit armor were then devoured by the thunder martial vein and resisted by the immortal Xian body, so Du Xiaofu would not be affected much. The thunder martial vein, the purple gold profound lightning, and the 8 trigrams. Du Xiaofu suppressed the starlight spiritual lightning once again. The purple thunder profound cauldron spun and the purple gold profound lightning around the cauldron gathered into a whirlpool. The powerful suction force pulled the python-like starlight thunderbolts directly into the purple thunder profound cauldron. The thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body was also devouring the starlight thunderbolts continuously. Under the effect of the 8 trigrams diagram, the surrounding starlight thunderbolts in the thunder pool seemed to be pulled by some invisible force. Once they fell into the void 8 trigrams diagram, they could not help but be controlled by the spiritual lightning and crazily rushed towards the purple thunder profound cauldron. When the starlight thunderbolts came into contact with the purple thunder profound cauldron, they disappeared directly and immediately disappeared into the purple thunder profound cauldron. Countless starlight thunderbolts swept past and the huge starlight thunderbolts that were dozens of feet long danced crazily. With a rumbling sound of thunder, they swept towards the purple thunder profound cauldron, but in the end, they all disappeared into the purple thunder profound cauldron. At this moment, the purple thunder profound cauldron was like a bottomless pit, allowing the starlight thunderbolts to sweep in freely. Rumble, the terrifying thunderbolts swept out and this part of the void was also constantly trembling. The thunderbolts were raging, as if there were countless bombs exploding. It was deafening, stinging, and dizzying. Bastard, how could this be? At this moment, the thunderbolt exotic beast finally felt fear. Its huge body moved horizontally in midair like a beast god in the sky, erupting huge thunderbolts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. It was as if the heavenly thunderbolts had descended to the world, punishing all living things with thunder and crushing towards the purple thunder profound cauldron. The oppressive thunderbolts made one's hair stand on end and felt a chill in the heart. Du Xiaofu went all out in the 8 trigrams diagram, and a vision appeared in the sky, erupting with a vast power. The purple thunder profound cauldron rotated, and waves of shocking purple gold thunderbolts turned into a thunderbolt black hole, becoming brighter and brighter. It was as if there were countless purple gold spiritual snakes shuttling in the void. Although the starlight thunderbolts were terrifying, under the influence of the 8 trigrams diagram, they could no longer shake the purple thunder profound cauldron. The purple thunder profound cauldron also swallowed the starlight thunderbolts that were like thunder punishment. Rumble, in the end, a large amount of starlight thunderbolts spread out, as if countless bombs had exploded. The terrifying thunderbolt power fell from the 9 heavens, and a rumbling sound reverberated in mid-air. How terrifying was this? It was simply destructive. However, all of this could no longer change anything. Du Xiaofu went all out, and the purple thunder profound cauldron was swallowing all the starlight thunderbolts. The vast starlight thunderbolt pool was weakening, and waves of starlight thunderbolts were swallowed by the purple thunder profound cauldron. There was no way to stop it, and only the low rumbling of thunder resounded in the space. How could this be? A fearful voice came out from the thunderbolt beast's mouth. The starlight thunderbolt pool was getting smaller, and the more it was swallowed, the weaker its aura was. Du Xiaofu's green spirit armor was also wrapped in starlight thunderbolts, and the thunderbolt martial vein on his body was also becoming brighter. He had also swallowed a large amount of spiritual thunderbolts. Fight! The thunderbolt beast could no longer hold back. Its huge body flew out and pounced into the 8 trigrams diagram in the void. Thunderbolts wrapped around it, and it was like a sun in the sky, distorting the void inside the 8 trigrams diagram. Rumble, the rumbling of thunder was deafening. The starlight thunderbolts struck one after another, wreaking havoc in the void, and the destructive power was surging. At this moment it was as if Du Xiaofu's 8 trigrams diagram was about to be overturned. The surrounding void crumbled inch by inch, and pitch-black spatial cracks swept out. It was drowned in starlight thunderbolts, and it was a shocking and terrifying scene. At this moment it was already a critical moment. The spiritual thunderbolt had already felt the real danger and was going all out. The 8 trigrams diagram shone brightly, and a vision filled the sky. Du Xiaofu condensed a huge purple gold thunder rock, carrying the purple thunder profound cauldron. Instead of advancing, it retreated and attacked the thunderbolt beast without hesitation. Rumble, under the suppression of the purple thunder profound cauldron and the 8 trigrams diagram, the thunderbolt beast was also crushed by the purple gold thunder profound cauldron. Thunderbolts raged like the most beautiful fireworks. Zizi, the starlight thunderbolt beast collapsed, and suddenly, an exceptionally bright starlight thunderbolt swept out. It broke free from the suppression and devouring of the 8 trigrams diagram and the purple thunder profound cauldron, and escaped at a terrifying speed. Brat, I'm not done with you. I will never let you go. A sharp voice rang out. The fleeing dazzling starlight and lightning transformed into a ferocious beast about 5 feet long outside the 8 trigrams in the void. However, it was exceptionally dazzling, crystal clear, and filled with a destructive aura. Chapter 1874. Spiritual Thunder Soul Seed. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered as he looked at the dazzling star lightning beast. That was the soul seed of this spiritual thunder, its foundation. Brat, pay the price. This is my world, and I have long been complimented by the stars in outer space. You are destined to be refined by me. A sharp and angry roar resounded, and the entire space trembled. A vast and boundless pressure seeped out from the void, and runes covered the space densely. Starlight undulated in the void, filling the entire sky. The terrifying pressure was too vast, and it imprisoned the void. It even wanted to imprison Du Xiaofu's void 8 trigrams diagram. In an instant, Du Xiaofu felt as if he had sunk into a swamp within the void 8 trigrams diagram. His Xian Qi slowed down, and even with the purple lightning profound cauldron in the lightning martial vein, he was still greatly suppressed. Even Du Xiaofu's cyan spirit armor was suppressed by a huge force, making every step he took as slow and strenuous as an old cow plowing a field. At this moment, the spiritual thunder soul seed was surrounded by starlight. It was as if a terrifying star was falling from the Milky Way, directly suppressing Du Xiaofu, crushing everything in its path. Rumble, in the outside world, Qi Yeshi, who was sitting cross-legged and surrounded by starlight, suddenly opened her eyes. The starlight energy around her was retracting toward the stars in outer space. The suspended stars in the void shone brightly, trembling in the void, and emitting a sonorous sound, releasing endless pressure. Qi Yeshi's eyes were serious, and her expression was tense. She looked at the exploding stars in outer space, and her slender hands were tightly clenched together. This is the power of the stars in outer space. Within the 8 trigrams diagram, Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered. At this moment, the mighty pressure came from the stars in outer space. This was the pressure from the mysterious stars in outer space. This spiritual thunder could borrow the power of the stars in outer space. This power was too terrifying. It was vast and filled with endless mystery, and its pressure could suppress all living things. Brat, it's over. Die. The spirit thunder soul seed was ferocious. It carried with it the pressure of the stars in the sky. The light was dazzling, and the runes were blazing. It was as if countless stars in the sky were collapsing. That kind of vast power was too terrifying. Under such a vast power, Du Xiaofu's void 8 trigrams diagram also began to crack. Some of the anomalies were destroyed, and some of the light dimmed. Boom! At the critical moment, Du Xiaofu's hand seals condensed, and dazzling divine light started to spread out from his body. It transformed into a vast divine halo that was exceptionally dazzling, and it erupted with brilliant ferocity like the sun rising from the east. This was Du Xiaofu's boundless energy of rebirth, and when one was enveloped within it and fused with it, it was otherworldly, divine, and inviolable. Moreover, the aura that surged from his entire body was like a waterfall that surged and seethed. All of a sudden, a saintly aura descended. All kinds of strange phenomena on the 8 trigrams once again flashed in the sky. A river of stars gushed out, a purple gold thunder rock appeared, and purple flames whistled. It was as if a new world was being born. Buzz! Buzz! The sonorous sound of wind and thunder resounded in the space. The rumbling sound was endless, and it swept through the void, causing great waves to rise and fall. This kind of power also resisted the pressure of the stars pouring down from the sky, and those countless symbols were shattering. Especially at this moment, the starlight that appeared in the void 8 trigrams diagram was invisibly connected with the pressure of the stars from the sky. Crash! Crash! The symbols were shattered. Du Xiaofu was now aided by the boundless energy of rebirth, the profound of the 8 trigrams, and the thunder martial veins at full strength. The boundless execution was sweeping in all directions. What is this? Is this the supreme nirvana? The spiritual thunder soul seed trembled. That terrifying pressure caused an unerasable fear to gush out from its heart. It's over. The void was turbulent, and the wind and clouds surged. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was standing as a supreme nirvana, looking disdainfully at all directions. His shout was like the cry of a rock piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks, and also like the cry of a dragon and the cry of a divine elephant. The light in his eyes was like 2 purple gold thunderbolts that pierced through the void. A palm strike that contained the 8 trigrams diagram and unparalleled execution fiercely attacked the spiritual thunder soul seed. Rumble, the spiritual thunder soul seed's fierce eyes trembled, and its sparkling and translucent body was shattered. Kid, you're still too inexperienced. But at this moment, from the shattered spiritual thunder soul seed, a terrifying aura that made one's soul tremble rushed towards Du Xiaofu's face. It turned into the most dazzling and sparkling starlight thunderbolt, and directly drilled into Du Xiaofu's forehead. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu's face was filled with joy instead of shock. A smile that seemed to be a smile that was not a smile appeared on his face. Boom! Boom! The starlight thunderbolt drilled into Du Xiaofu's forehead, and a monstrous aura that wanted to destroy the primordial spirit swept out in Du Xiaofu's mind. That terrifying aura carried destruction, as if it could destroy the primordial spirit in an instant. But in this destructive aura, there was an aura that could nourish the primordial spirit. Vitality and destruction coexisted. This kind of aura shocked Du Xiaofu. That terrifying aura could destroy the primordial spirit, but it could also nourish the primordial spirit. That kind of feeling was like water that could carry a boat, but it could also capsize it. However, in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Du Xiaofu was already prepared. The protection of the thunder martial vein in his body surged out. A magnificent and desolate aura spread out, channeling the purple-gold electric arcs into his mind and enveloping the starlight and thunder. At the same time, the scarlet horse monkey's primordial spirit in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen palace rushed out. In an instant, it released a violent and destructive aura. The silver-gold lightning that filled the sky swept out and spread throughout the Naiwen palace. This was the silver net soul-devouring thunder, earth-shattering thunder, soul-destroying thunder, and golden crow sky-burning thunder that Du Xiaofu had merged with. In addition, there was an extremely terrifying spiritual root aura that had always existed in his mind. Even at this moment, the 3,000 vibrating thunder that had always existed in Du Xiaofu's mind was affected and released its aura. It was too fast. Everything happened in an instant. The silver-gold lightning arc spread out and poured down. There was an ancient and domineering aura, desolate and magnificent. It could not be provoked and contained violent destruction. It's not just one spiritual thunder. You have merged with 5 spiritual thunders. How can this be? This is impossible, impossible. At this moment, the starlight thunderbolt that had just rushed into Du Xiaofu's mind turned into a crystal-clear thunder beast. It suddenly trembled and its fierce eyes were filled with fear. It immediately began to retreat. At this moment, the starlight spiritual thunder soul seed knew that the human in front of it had not only merged with one spiritual thunder. It had clearly felt the aura of 5 spiritual thunders. The numerous terrifying auras made it fearful. It was naturally suppressed. As a single soul seed in this place, it did not have any room to fight back. Who are you? The soul seed left these words in Du Xiaofu's mind. Then, it was swallowed by Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein and the spiritual thunder that was formed by the 4 spiritual thunders. Walala, above the void, the 8 trigrams pattern in the void disappeared. The purple gold thunder rock and the divine rings disappeared. All kinds of strange phenomena converged and quietly hid in the void. Chapter 1875. The pressure in the air also calmed down and returned to normal. Buzz buzz, the terrifying lightning formed by the starlight was dissipating, and only a few faint arcs of starlight occasionally reverberated in the air. When everything calmed down, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but spit out a large mouthful of blood, and the aura on his body instantly became chaotic. That was close. Du Xiaofu's face was very pale as the green spirit armor retracted. Using all his strength like this consumed too much energy. Not only did it exhaust Du Xiaofu, but the coldine energy in his body also started to riot. Fortunately, Du Xiaofu had already completely suppressed the spiritual lightning. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable if it had dragged on for a while. Phew, Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. He still had lingering fear. The consequences would have been unimaginable. Refine. At this moment, whether it was the surging coldine energy in his body or the spiritual lightning soul seed in his mind, they all needed to be refined. Then, Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged on a rock in the air that was rippling with starlight. He formed a seal with his hands and began to circulate his cultivation technique to refine it. Buzz buzz, from the surface of Du Xiaofu's body, there were arcs of electricity on his exposed skin, enveloping his entire body. The heavenly stellar space fell silent again. Only the stars in the sky in front of them were floating like mountains, exuding a mysterious and ancient aura as they flickered with dazzling light again. The light above the stars in the sky was like starlight. Qi Yi stood there, 2 strands of black hair gently brushing against her face. Wrapped in a light green dress, her small waist outlined a graceful arc. The starlight made she look hazy and dreamy. This kind of beauty was not only in appearance, but also in her temperament. It made her look like a real immortal who had descended to the mortal world, untainted by the mortal world. Seeing that the huge stars in the sky had gradually calmed down and feeling that the spiritual lightning aura was getting weaker and weaker, Qi Yi's red lips parted slightly, and her tightly clenched hands relaxed. I haven't died all these years, so I'll definitely be fine this time. Qi Yi's brows curved as she stared at the stars in the sky and murmured. The light in her eyes swirled and there was a hint of determination in them. Afterwards, Qi Yi continued to sit cross-legged. Her body was enveloped in dazzling starlight as she absorbed the energy released from the stars in outer space. Star runes seeped out of the void and were gradually drawn in by her, gathering around her graceful body as if a new star was forming. Time passed slowly, like the sand between one's fingers, quietly disappearing. It had been more than a year since the opening of the Divine Dominion. After the father and son Du Tingxian and Du Xiaofu made a fuss about legalism, Kyushu had been extremely peaceful. There were no major disputes in Kyushu. The major powers didn't make any moves either. They didn't even send their personal disciples down the mountain. They were all cultivating in seclusion in their seclusion. Rumor has it that a great calamity of the world is coming, and it has something to do with those ancient demons. Those major powers have all let their disciples cultivate in seclusion so that they can have more power to protect themselves when the great calamity comes. These rumors spread in Kyushu. There was a lot of discussion in secret, and it made people panic. Phoenix Clan, Wudong Mountain. In a mysterious space in an ancient world, the air was scorching hot. Shocking crimson flames spread out from the void. It was so terrifying that it could instantly incinerate a top expert into ashes. Whoosh, the raging flames covered the void like a sea of fire. The high temperature burned the void, revealing pitch-black spatial cracks. It was so hot that living creatures couldn't step into it. However, there was a strange reddish-gold dragon entrenched in the middle of the sky. Its huge eyes were tightly shut, and there was a mysterious vertical third eye between its brows. At this moment, it seemed as though there was a fiery flame dancing within it. This strange dragon had a pair of wings spread out, emitting a kind of bright and beautiful light flame. Its huge body was being refined by the blazing flame, and the scales all over its body had already become increasingly bright and golden. Coo, a bird's cry reverberated in the void. In the raging flames, a 7-colored light shone brightly. A huge vermilion bird's rune was arranged and deduced. It then rushed into the body of the crimson golden dragon and turned into a rune that rushed out. The cycle continued. Every time this cycle occurred, the aura of the crimson gold variant dragon would become more vigorous. On Wudong Mountain, there was another scorching space in the Phoenix Clan. The 5-colored flames burned like a sea of divine fire. Under the blazing 5-colored flames, it could easily destroy a martial domain realm expert and incinerate him into ashes. However, at this moment, there were 2 huge phoenixes that were wrapped in the 5-colored flames. Terrifying 5-colored flames surrounded the bodies of the 2 huge phoenixes, entering and exiting from the surface of their bodies. It was extremely mystical. These 2 enormous phoenixes were burning with 5-colored flames as they floated quietly in the air, causing the entire void to tremble. From the huge phoenixes' bodies, a terrifying pressure spread out, causing all beasts to tremble. It made people feel small and shocked. This was Feng Han's and Huan Ling-er's phoenix's bodies. At this moment, the bodies of the two shone brightly. Huan Ling-er's body was slightly smaller. However, at this moment, Feng Han's body was undoubtedly much more dazzling. There was an incomparably deep black-purple flame surging out from his body. This was the phoenix bathing in fire. It was said to be able to burn everything, including all living things. The phoenix bathing in fire was said to be a spiritual fire formed when a phoenix was undergoing nirvana. It was said that since ancient times, there were only a few predecessors of the Phoenix clan who had obtained the opportunity to cultivate the phoenix bathing in fire. However, every predecessor of the Phoenix clan who had cultivated the phoenix bathing in fire was extremely powerful. There was even a 30% chance that they could rely on the phoenix bathing in fire in their bodies to be reborn. At this moment, with the cooperation of the phoenix bathing in fire, it was obvious that Feng Han had obtained great benefits here. When he came out of seclusion, he would definitely be able to reach a higher level and transform again. In comparison, Huan Ling-er's body was currently covered in a terrifying pressure. She was wrapped in raging flames, but if one looked carefully, one would see that her huge body had fallen into a withered state. Her beautiful feathers had already been burned, and her phoenix body was withering. Her flesh and blood had dried up, revealing sparkling white bones. Even her vitality was dimming. This was destruction. It wouldn't be long before Huang Ling-er's phoenix body was completely burned to ashes. Even her white bones would be turned into powder. However, if one looked carefully at this moment, one would discover that there was a 7-colored flame seeping out from Huang Ling-er's phoenix bones. It wrapped around her body and merged with the raging flames in the phoenix divine pool, protecting her last bit of vitality. The seemingly weak vitality in Huang Ling-er's body was gradually strengthening under the 7-colored flame. It was like a baby growing healthily. Within the vast divine pool of rebirth, there was a fingernail-sized flying ant wrapped in dazzling green light. It was wrapped in 5-colored divine flames, and it emitted a 5-colored brilliance from inside out. At this moment, the wings on this strange flying ant started to emit a 5-colored luster. It came from its bloodline, and an extremely terrifying pressure suffused and spread out from its tiny body. This was the little ant emperor. It was currently being tempered in the divine pool of rebirth, and it was seeking a transformation amidst the extreme danger. If it could persist until it succeeded, it would be able to eliminate its illness. It would be like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon and transforming into a supreme ant phoenix. It would definitely shake the world. Clouds and mist coiled around a vast plain. This seemed to be the end of the world. There was an enormous circle above the plain. The arc in the middle was divided into two, forming the two extremes of yin and yang. It was faintly discernible. Wu, black mist lingered above the void. An evil aura fluctuated, and the cries of ghosts and gods resounded. In front of a floating palace in the void, a middle-aged man in plain robes stood outside the palace with his hands behind his back. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the evil black mist in the void. There really isn't much time left. The seal is about to break, the middle-aged man in plain robes muttered softly. Dazzling runes flashed in his eyes. It was a moonlit night. The bright moon hung high in the sky. Above the pure white moonlight, a faint wisp of black mist was faintly discernible. There isn't much time left. I'm afraid that seal won't be able to last much longer, a faint voice sounded, and a graceful figure appeared in the void. Under the moonlight, this figure's long dress fluttered. Under the hazy moonlight, this beautiful figure's face was beautiful and mysterious. She was surrounded by a hazy radiance, and no one could see her clearly. Within the stars in outer space, the void was completely silent. There was no day or night, and it was as if time had lost its meaning in this place. Sizzle, in this silence, there were occasional electric arcs that surrounded Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged. No one could see that in Du Xiaofu's Naiwan palace, the starlight spiritual thunder soul seed was being suppressed and devoured by various spiritual thunders, spiritual roots, and the thunder martial vein. It was being absorbed into the primordial spirit Redbone Horse Monkey's primordial spirit. The Redbone Horse Monkey's primordial spirit, which was originally silver-gold in color, now had a kind of starlight. It was becoming more and more solid and vigorous. The starlight spiritual thunder was almost at the saint realm. How powerful was that? Although the purple thunder profound cauldron had devoured a lot of it, the spiritual thunder soul seed had been absorbed by Du Xiaofu. This brought benefits to Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit beyond imagination. It also allowed Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein to reach a new level. The thunder martial vein nourished Du Xiaofu, and the huge amount of energy caused his cultivation to rise directly. The surging cold energy that Du Xiaofu had devoured also brought great benefits to Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's aura was rising slowly and steadily. This kind of slowness was relative. If there were people of the same cultivation level, seeing Du Xiaofu's slow speed of ascension, they would probably be so shocked that they would commit suicide. How was this slow? At such a cultivation level, such a speed of ascension was simply flying. Chapter 1876. At Du Xiaofu's current level of cultivation, it was difficult for him to raise his cultivation level just by relying on the abundant celestial qi and the strengthening of his primordial spirit. However, during this period of time, Du Xiaofu had benefited imperceptibly from the Phoenix clan, the Confucian school, and the Taoist school of thought. It was like sowing seeds in spring, and now it was time for Du Xiaofu to reap the harvest. Time passed calmly. In this empty space, there were only traces of electric arcs flashing. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu's aura was rising stronger and stronger. With his eyes tightly shut, Du Xiaofu was like an old monk in meditation. However, there was no doubt that when he woke up, he would be like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon. He would reach a higher level. In the boundless plains, the two extremes of yin and yang were faintly discernible. The black fog was getting thicker and thicker, and the evil aura was getting stronger and stronger. The cries of ghosts and gods from the void were also getting denser and denser. Rumble, the plains trembled. Under the influence of the evil aura and the black fog, the yin-yang pattern kept glowing. The void was also trembling and rumbling. In front of the floating palace, a middle-aged man in plain robes stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the rolling evil aura in the void and his eyes darkened. Break it. This seal should disappear. Suddenly, a lifeless voice came from the void. Suddenly, rolling evil aura surged from the depths of the void. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. The void trembled. Amidst the lightning and thunder, a 12-leaf black lotus appeared in the void. It gradually bloomed in the sky. It was 10,000 feet tall, and its black light covered the sky. Woo! Woo! In an instant, countless shadows of evil spirits surged out. They appeared in a frenzy. The cries of ghosts and gods and the demonic aura raged. It was as if something in this world had been awakened. It was as if all the evil spirits in this world had been summoned to submit to it. Rumble, the entire plains trembled and rumbled. Dark clouds rolled and demonic aura filled the sky. It was as if countless ferocious beasts were roaring and howling, about to rush out from the dark underground. On the plain, the flickering yin-yang pattern began to tremble intensely. Under the impact of the monstrous demonic qi, it began to loosen and dim. The runes in the middle-aged man's eyes began to flicker, and the space around him began to tremble. The huge palace around him was filled with dazzling runes that intertwined with each other and turned into a dazzling ray of light that shot towards the 12-leaf black lotus like lightning. You still want to stop me? A beam of black light shot down from the 12-leaf black lotus. It carried with it monstrous devil qi as it tore through the void. A large area of space crumbled under the pressure as pitch-black spatial cracks spread out in all directions. Chi-La, demonic energy gushed out, ghosts wailed, and deities howled. The void shattered, and the entire sky was torn apart as if it was about to explode. It was terrifying to the extreme. This time, the white-robed middle-aged man did not manage to block the attack. His figure staggered back a step, and his eyes were extremely serious. "I'll deal with you first today." A lifeless voice rang out as the huge 12-leaf black lotus spun and crashed toward the hovering palace. Its terrifying power caused the void to rumble as boundless black light filled the sky. "How dare you!" At this moment, for shouts rang out from the end of the void. For beams of dazzling energy shot out from the north, south, east, and west. Finally, they gathered above the plain. The white-robed middle-aged man formed a hand seal, and in an instant, the aura on his body seemed to spread out. Light shone brightly, and a beam of dazzling energy shot out and gathered. 5 beams of dazzling energy intertwined and instantly formed a dazzling sharp sword in the void. Ancient runes rippled and intertwined as it traversed the void and dispersed the boundless black light. It seemed as if it had descended from ancient times to resist the 12-leaf black lotus. "You can't stop me anymore." When the lifeless voice rang out, the 12-leaf black lotus bloomed, and 7 three-legged cauldrons that were filled with purple lightning appeared. Rumble, when the 7 three-legged cauldrons appeared, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and purple-gold lightning poured down from the sky. Crash, the sharp sword in the void was in a stalemate. However, after a moment, it turned into monstrous ancient runes and scattered in the void. It could no longer stop the attack. Break! Purple-gold lightning rumbled and poured down on the yin-yang pattern on the plain. The 12-leaf black lotus spun and released endless black light. Countless evil spirit phantoms gushed out and appeared in a frenzy. Crack crack. Under such a vast destructive power, the yin-yang pattern finally began to crack completely, and endless light burst out. Swish. However, it was also at this moment that a dazzling light shot out from the yin-yang diagram like a bolt of lightning, erupting with boundless light. The dazzling sun in the sky interweaved with each other and directly collided with the 12 black lotuses. Boom! Such an impact scattered the endless black light, causing the huge black lotus to instantly dim. The black runes were destroyed, and even the 7 three-legged cauldrons were affected. "Lu Xiaoyu, you tricked me. However, today is different. You can't trap me anymore." The lifeless voice seemed to be furious for the first time. The sound waves surged in the sky, as if the light attack had caused a huge impact on it. Woo-woo, when the furious voice sounded, the yin-yang pattern on the plain completely shattered. Demonic energy surged and wreaked havoc. Suddenly, something in the world seemed to have been awakened. The world trembled and dark clouds rolled. It was as if countless ferocious beasts were roaring. Above the plain, endless light erupted. The sky was turning upside down, and the world was turning upside down. The light illuminated the world, shocking the world. Whoosh whoosh, at this moment, old figures floated in the sky above the 9 great clans, the 4 seas, Wudong Mountain, the Beast Region, Kyushu, and the 3 continents. Numerous gazes were fixed on the sky. Dazzling light shot out from the many weathered faces. This world will eventually become a demonic domain. Everything will be destroyed. No one can stop it. The furious voice gradually became lifeless. It was deep and intimidating, as if it had surged out from the depths of hell. It made one's heart tremble for no reason. Woo-woo, when the voice disappeared, the 12-leaf black lotus wrapped around the 7 three-legged cauldrons and disappeared. The monstrous baleful energy and surging demonic energy in the sky also gradually disappeared into the depths of the sky. The heavenly devil battlefield has opened. In front of the floating palace, the white-robed middle-aged man's face was slightly pale. His voice echoed in the 3 continents, Kyushu, and resounded throughout the world. Above the three continents, Kyushu, the four seas, and the beast region, light burst forth. It was as if a spatial rift had extended from the depths of the sky. Demonic energy poured into the sky, and all sorts of ancient runes shone brightly. Awu, hum. Between heaven and earth, the cries of ghosts and the howls of gods resounded. There were also the sounds of gods, demons, and Buddhas, shaking the world. Many old figures floated in the sky, gazing into the distance with narrowed eyes and excited expressions. The heavenly devil battlefield has opened. The ancestors of the golden-winged great rocks once lived there. Within the golden-winged great rocks, the old lady gazed into the depths of the sky. Her voice echoed throughout the entire clan. The heavenly devil battlefield is filled with both danger and opportunity. Go and find the remains of our ancestors. At the very least, bring them back to the clan. Boom! Boom! In an instant, golden light erupted. Figures within the golden-winged great rocks soared into the sky. Grandmother, we will definitely find the remains of our ancestors and bring them back to the clan to rest in peace. Jialo Tsayu floated in the sky. There was a valiant aura in her beauty. Her eyes shone with golden light. Beside her stood Jialo Jueyu, Jialo Juekong, and the others. The four seas were vast and boundless. Huge waves surged into the sky. Awu, dragon roars resounded. Giant dragons rushed out, dazzling. Dragon might swept across the sky and soared into the sky. Mount Wudong, the Phoenix clan. Screech, phoenix cries rang out in the sky. Many figures floated in mid-air, spreading the might of a supreme being. At the front were 2 women and 1 man. They were particularly outstanding. One of the women had willowy eyebrows and a snowy face. She wore a tight red outfit that outlined her sexy figure. Her waist was curvaceous, and she wore a red cloak that trailed down. There was a hint of valiance in her nobility. The other woman wore a purple robe that outlined her seductive figure. Her temperament was otherworldly, like a fairy that did not eat the food of mortals. Apart from the 2 women, there was a man in a battle robe who stood tall and straight. His 5-colored eyes shone on his handsome face, and his long red hair draped over his shoulders. He looked extraordinary. Zishuan, Huangwu, Feng Chu, you guys go first. Be careful. A beautiful woman spoke to the 2 women and 1 man. Her clothes were gorgeous but not graceful. She was simple but did not lose her luster. Her face was beautiful but she had a noble temperament. Her beautiful eyes moved slightly, suffused with a magnificent light and revealed a deep look. Legalism in the sky plains. Du Xiaojing stood in the air. His clothes fluttered slightly, and his hair danced gently. Xiaojing, you are of the legalism lineage, and so is your mother. My legalism lineage is firm and indestructible. You are extremely talented. This time, enter the heavenly devil battlefield and find my ancestors. If you can obtain what they left behind, you will definitely be able to dominate the current era and surpass the ancient era. The old High Lord looked at Du Xiaojing with anticipation and excitement. Du Xiaojing's hair fell to his waist, and his eyes were as clear as stars. However, there was a hint of fluctuation in the depths of his eyes that was then restrained. Whoosh, then, the graceful figure flew into the sky and left, followed by many powerful cultivators. At the same time, many experts from the Taoist, Yin-Yang, Buddhist, famous, and other major schools walked out. In the Beast region, Shang region, Wanzhou, Yu region, and other Kyushu regions, countless figures soared into the sky from many ancient sects and headed to the heavenly devil battlefield. The opening of the heavenly devil battlefield broke the peace of the current era. Various sects and factions rushed out. They wanted to enter the most mysterious place to explore the ancient battlefield and find ancient opportunities. The heavenly devil battlefield has opened. There are great dangers there, but also great opportunities. Countless cultivators in the 3 continents of Kyushu received the news and headed to the Heavenly Devil battlefield. The Heavenly Devil battlefield shook the world. In the 3 continents of Kyushu, countless figures flew. All living beings fought to step into that ancient world to find opportunities and luck. Countless old figures floated in the air and looked around. They were still testing and deducing, not rashly entering. February 1st, a new volume will begin. Chapter 1877. Go, Master will be there soon. Yes. An old woman spoke to Dongli Qingqing from the Great Luan sect in the middle ground. Dongli Qingqing stood tall on the mountain top. She was like a fairy, peerless and independent. She stood quietly in the air, giving people a feeling of supreme vitality. She was out of this world. Master, take care. Dongli Qingqing's beautiful figure flew into the air as she looked into the distance. Whoosh whoosh, many experts from the Great Luan sect followed behind Dongli Qingqing. The towering peaks were shrouded in clouds and mist. Thousands of mountains rose and fell, magnificent and boundless. The Heavenly Devil battlefield has finally opened. Let's go. Let's go. On the mountain peak, Sima Taxing Star's black hair and green robes complemented his tall and slender figure. There was a hint of elegance in his dignified appearance. He flew into the air as soon as he finished speaking. Follow the sect master. Yes. The Golden Rock Protectorate Master, Gu Qingyang, and other experts from the ancient Sky Sect, as well as Xiang Ling, Shui Ruhan, Si Ruofeng, Yin Machin, and the other young elites of the ancient Sky Sect, stepped into the air and followed closely behind. Desolate country, Stone City. Many figures stood in front of the palace. Du Tingxian, Elder Lei, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Zhen Qingchun, Yi Piaoling, Yi Wuming, and the others were in the lead. There were also Yi Zijin, Phantom, Mo Tianxiao, Mia Meng Wang, Thunder Eagle King, Silver-Winged Demonic Condor, Qiu Li, and other familiar figures. The Heavenly Devil battlefield is where ancient heroic spirits are buried and ancient demons are sealed. Opportunities and misfortune exist together. Luck and danger coexist. Everyone, be careful. Du Tingxian said as he looked into the sky. His handsome face was slightly serious, but there was a burning anticipation. The Heavenly Devil battlefield was filled with too many legends and secrets. If they wanted to truly resist legalism, the Heavenly Devil battlefield was undoubtedly the last chance. I wonder where Xiaofu is right now. Will he arrive before us when the Heavenly Devil battlefield opens? Zhen Qingchun asked. It had been a long time since the Stone City had heard any news about him. He was the soul of the barren country and the pillar of the Stone City. He will definitely go, Du Tingxian said. Whoosh whoosh, a moment later, powerful auras fluctuated within the Stone City, and figures flashed out like lightning. Demon realm, mountains, deep forests. After the deity domain, the Heavenly Devil battlefield will open. This time, who will be the final winner? Inside the ancient cave, a young man in green robes with peerless grace walked out. His eyes were vast and boundless. As he walked out, flowers bloomed all around him, exuding exuberance and vitality. Gradually, he disappeared into the air. Within the boundless heaven and earth, an enormous black river stretched across the land, and it was suffused with an aura of the underworld. It seemed as if it was overflowing from the underworld, causing one's soul to feel cold and palpitate. Heavenly Devil battlefield, here I come. Strange black runes appeared on the river, and a young man in black robes walked out of the divine river. His eyes were looking at the sky, as if they contained the underworld. As he stepped out, his figure disappeared in an instant. In the vast glacier, 1,000-meter-tall icefall hung in the air. Surrounding it were towering icebergs that towered into the clouds. It was a shocking scene. A huge palace seemed to be made of ice, and it was filled with runes. It was crystal clear, as if it was the purest and most flawless existence in the world. Lian Qingrong looked at the void. Her eyes were clear, and her skin was like jade. Behind her, there were 8 women in white dresses. Each of them was incomparably beautiful and graceful. After enduring for so long, in the heavenly devil battlefield, there will be a real fierce battle. Who will be the final winner? In Lian Qingrong's clear eyes, there was a fluctuation of light. She waved her hand slightly, and then disappeared from the glacier with the 8 maidservants. In the endless blazing magma, a young man in fiery armor walked out of the rolling magma. His eyes were like 2 volcanoes that could burn and destroy everything. This time, no one can steal the limelight from me, the fire cloud evil god Dugu Fenshin. As he spoke, the magma rolled, and his figure quietly disappeared. In the dark space, a murderous aura fluctuated, and a dark red figure quietly appeared in the void. On a dark red robe with a hood covering his forehead, he raised his head slightly. His face was angular and clear, and his dark and deep icy eyes cast a sharp and deep gaze, giving people a sense of oppression. Du Xiaofu, I'm not done with you. After saying that, his figure quietly disappeared, turning into a black light that swept into the void. On the day that the heavenly devil battlefield opened, the world was shaken. The major forces in the world were alarmed, and they sent their experts to the heavenly devil battlefield. The geniuses came out of seclusion, and the supreme martial artists came out. Suddenly, the 3 continents, Kyushu, and a territory that had been suppressed for a long time exploded. Some small and medium-sized forces and rogue cultivators also moved and rushed to the heavenly devil battlefield. In the silent space, time passed quietly. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged in the Niwan Palace in his mind. As the mysterious incomplete cultivation method slowly integrated the soul seed of star splendor thunder soul seed into his primordial spirit, the Coldine energy in his body was also being refined, and the aura in his body was constantly rising. The star's spiritual thunder power that was originally devoured by the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body was refined by the thunder martial vein and turned into a pure surge of energy that poured into Du Xiaofu's body. With the cultivation of the Nirvana realm, Du Xiaofu's divine watchtower in his body was enormous. However, the energy that was transformed from the spiritual thunder under the Saint realm was also incomparably enormous, endless, and surging violently. There were also the benefits that Du Xiaofu had obtained along the way. He had more or less gained from the Phoenix clan, Taoist sect, and Confucian sect. At this moment, all of these supported Du Xiaofu's aura to advance smoothly, without any obstruction. At some point, Du Xiaofu's rising aura had reached a point where it gradually stopped, as if it had reached a bottleneck. Sizzle, sizzle, suddenly, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. Silver gold lightning shot out from his eyes, bringing with it the fluctuations of the star's spiritual arc, causing the surrounding space to tremble for no reason. What is indestructible? Du Xiaofu said, then closed his eyes again, and the space returned to silence. Whoosh, 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 in front of the stars in outer space, starlight rippled all over the sky. The energy of heaven and earth rippled around the graceful figure sitting cross-legged, like a river of stars rippling. A strange phenomenon appeared, and a vast qi spread out. From Qi Yeshi's body, a vast qi also began to rise, connecting with the vast stars in outer space. The sacred starlight rippled, illuminating the graceful figure, holy and majestic. Why haven't they come out yet? The heavenly devil battlefield has been open for several days. In the school of Yin Yang, the moon was above the willow branches. Qi Mingxian looked at the Tianqian secret realm in front of him with a solemn expression. They are still in the secret realm, but I don't know anything about it. Let's wait a little longer. Moon Saint's faint voice reverberated. Her long dress fluttered, beautiful and mysterious. The heavenly devil battlefield has just been opened, and there are still remnants of the sealing power. At the moment, cultivators of the Saint Plane are still unable to enter. Once a Saint Plane cultivator can enter, they probably won't be able to get anything. Qi Mingxian was worried. These days, when the heavenly devil battlefield was opened, countless beings entered it, but there were still remnants of the sealing place on the heavenly devil battlefield, and cultivators of the Saint Plane were still unable to enter. Once cultivators of the Saint Plane were able to enter, the pressure on the younger generation would increase greatly, and they probably wouldn't be able to get anything good. Once a Saint Plane cultivator can enter, those demons in the heavenly devil battlefield will probably be completely freed. When that time comes, the great calamity of heaven and earth will truly come again. Moon Saint sighed, and her eyes shone. The space around her trembled for no reason, and her body was shrouded in a hazy radiance, like a bright moon in the sky. Chapter 1878. Golden light shot into the sky from the peaks of the mountains. A young man in golden clothes instantly walked out. His golden hair hung loosely on his shoulders, and he was thin and tall. He raised his head slightly to look at the sky while a wisp of an unrestrained smile hung on the corners of his mouth at all times. Moreover, he emanated the aura of a king that shook the world. Heavenly devil battlefield, little blue, little tiger, and that fellow. Have all of you arrived? As soon as he finished speaking, the young man's dazzling golden eyes were suffused with anticipation and yearning, but it couldn't conceal his extraordinary heroic bearing. He was born with the aura of a king, and he emanated a strand of chaotic energy. Wudong Mountain, Phoenix Clan. Roar! The cry of a phoenix resounded through the sky as an enormous phoenix surged into appearance from space. Its entire body was covered in extremely deep dark violet flames that incinerated space and all living beings. The energy of the heavens and the earth in the surroundings fluctuated violently and surged towards the enormous phoenix. Under such a terrifying aura, all the bloodline disciples of the entire Phoenix clan trembled before it, and there were cries of phoenixes that prostrated themselves before it. Feng Han has emerged from his closed-door cultivation. The phoenix bathed in flames within the divine pool of rebirth. No matter if it's his body or soul, both have been forged and transformed once more. On a towering wudong tree on a distant mountain, an old man from the Phoenix clan had an excited gaze, and his voice was trembling. Feng Han possesses the flames of a phoenix, yet he hasn't truly undergone rebirth within the divine pool of rebirth. That's too difficult. An old woman in luxurious clothes felt regretful. Feng Han, who possessed the flames of a phoenix, was the hope of the entire clan, and there were many chances for him to undergo rebirth within the divine pool of rebirth. However, at this moment, it would seem like he wasn't able to accomplish his wish. You're wrong. Feng Han hasn't truly undergone rebirth, but it's just that. He's already undergone rebirth and stepped foot into the true Overlord region. An aged old man spoke. His entire body was enveloped in divine flames, and his eyes were vast and ancient. Boom! Suddenly, space trembled for no reason. Dazzling multicolored light effused out from the direction of the divine pool of rebirth, and then the image of an enormous beast floated up into appearance. The image of the beast had 8 wings, and they were like the wings of a phoenix. It was completely savage, and it carried the aura of an exalt. Rumble! The appearance of this strange beast carried with it a supreme aura, causing lightning to flash and thunder to rumble. Winds and clouds to surge in the void. That is, the divine soul-devouring ant. Above the towering flaming parasol trees in the distance, the powerhouses of the Phoenix clan trembled as they stared at the exotic beast under the huge shadow. It was the soul-devouring divine ant. It was the size of a baby and had 8 strange wings connected together. At this moment it was covered in 5-colored flames and emitted the supreme aura of the Phoenix clan. This aura was far from what an ordinary disciple of the Phoenix clan could compare with. Compared to the aura of the Phoenix clan on Feng Han's body, it was not inferior at all. The divine soul devourer ant was connected to the huge shadow behind it. Its entire body was green and translucent, and it was dyed with colorful colors. Its 8 wings, which were as thin as cicada wings, flapped slightly. Its aura was incomparably vigorous, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared in the void around it. Gee, with the appearance of such a soul-devouring divine ant, even the disciples of the Phoenix clan were crying out. Those who didn't have enough strength were trembling from head to toe. That kind of pressure wasn't any weaker than the pressure Feng Han gave them. Swoosh swoosh, above the void, there was an obscure aura that was alarmed and projected over, causing ripples. That little guy isn't the soul-devouring divine ant anymore. It has survived, and the ancestral phoenix blood essence in its body has awakened. It has broken out of its cocoon and turned into a butterfly. The supreme ant phoenix has been born. Huang Mengjuan's figure appeared in the void, and her eyes were filled with shock. So the supreme ant phoenix really exists. Some of the powerhouses of the Phoenix clan were astonished. The supreme ant phoenix, in ancient times, had once shocked the world. It was so famous that countless supreme powerhouses had to retreat. For these powerhouses of the Phoenix clan, they had once thought that the supreme ant phoenix was only a legend, and perhaps it would never appear again. But now, the legendary supreme ant emperor had appeared. If this matter were to spread, it would definitely shake the world. There was originally a huge sealed energy in this little guy's body, and it is now being refined. In the Nirvana divine pool, it has undergone a Nirvana rebirth, turning from an ant into a phoenix. In the future, its achievements will probably surpass Feng Han's. Huang Mengjun spoke again. Nirvana rebirth, turning from an ant into a phoenix. When these words entered their ears, the surrounding powerhouses of the Phoenix clan were speechless, but their hearts were in turmoil. Nirvana rebirth, Feng Han hadn't managed to do it, but this little guy had. Once it matured to the end, how terrifying would it be? Feng Han had the Phoenix baptism, but he only succeeded halfway. How could this soul-devouring divine ant have done it? Some of the powerhouses of the Phoenix clan couldn't accept it. After all, Feng Han had the Phoenix baptism, but he couldn't even compare to a soul-devouring divine ant. This little guy has the blood essence of the ancestral phoenix. Once it is stimulated, it won't be any weaker than us. If I'm not wrong, there are other secrets in its body. At the very least, it has the aura of the grass of immortality, dark penetrating grass, and the golden-winged Great Peng clan. Since this little guy isn't the ancestor of our Phoenix clan, the difficulty of Nirvana rebirth is lower. If the Phoenix clan can truly undergo Nirvana rebirth, comparatively speaking, Feng Han will naturally be slightly better. Huang Mengjun spoke, and her eyes flickered with shock. She continued, however, no one can predict how far this little guy can go after his bloodline and the ancestral Phoenix bloodline have undergone Nirvana rebirth. But one thing is certain, his future is boundless. It's said that in the ancient times, the supreme ant phoenix was a close friend of the ancestral phoenix. They fought side by side and swept through the ancient times. Now that this little guy has successfully undergone Nirvana, it is greatly related to our clan. It is also the credit of our Nirvana divine pool. This can be considered a great help to our clan. An elder from the Phoenix clan was excited. The supreme ant phoenix was inextricably linked to the Phoenix clan. Now that this divine soul-devouring ant had successfully undergone Nirvana, it could be considered a great help to the Phoenix clan. Hearing this, Huang Mengjun smiled faintly and said, "Don't forget, this little guy was brought here by the little demon king." Hearing Huang Mengjun's words, the eyes of the surrounding experts of the Phoenix clan twitched inwardly. This supreme ant phoenix was indeed brought here by Du Xiaofu. He had defeated Feng Han, and little Xingxing had miraculously ascended the spirit sparrow terrace. This was the reason why the divine soul-devouring ant had obtained the opportunity to enter the Nirvana divine pool. Most likely, this supreme ant phoenix would only recognize the demon king. The people around the demon king are all terrifying. An elder said with a trembling voice. The desolate country already had many supreme experts. Not to mention Mo Tianxiao, Du Yunlong, Yi Piaoling, Dai Xingyu, Ouyang Shuang, and the others, Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao were even more abnormal. Now, with the addition of the supreme ant phoenix, they were like a tiger that had grown wings. A divine soul-devouring ant monarch was already terrifying enough, let alone a supreme ant phoenix. Although Du Xiaofu, the demon king, has a good relationship with our clan, and Little Xingxing has ascended the spirit sparrow terrace, we should still try our best to obtain this supreme ant phoenix. Who knows, this supreme ant phoenix might recognize our phoenix clan. An elder gritted his teeth. Although he had a good relationship with the demon king, Du Xiaofu, it was still better to obtain a bloodline like the supreme ant phoenix. And Ling, why hasn't she come out of seclusion? A plain-looking old woman gazed in the direction of the Nirvana divine pool with a solemn expression. Feng Han and the divine soul-devouring ant had already come out of seclusion. Only Huang Ling, was left. Gee, and just as the old woman's voice fell, from the direction of the Nirvana divine pool, a shriek resounded through the void. Walala! Immediately after, 5-colored divine flames that blotted out the heavens and covered the earth soared out and covered the entire sky. It was the image of an enormous 7-colored phoenix that spread its wings in the sky, and its might covered the heavens and the earth. Even Feng Han and the exalted ant phoenix were suppressed by it. Aoo! Almost at the same time, in the direction of the spirit sparrow terrace, a dragon's roar shook the universe. It was like the sound of the great Tao, suppressing the ancient land of the Phoenix clan. Gee, there were also the cries of birds that seemed to have come from ancient times. A dazzling vermilion bird phantom appeared. 7-colored divine light flooded the sky. It was as if it had traveled across time and space. It caused the space to riot and was able to crush time and space. Rumble, the void trembled, and spatial ripples rolled back. The surrounding void was filled with runes. At this moment, the divine flame in the Nirvana divine pool soared into the sky. On the spirit sparrow terrace, the resplendent light drowned the sky. The blood in the bodies of the Phoenix clan disciples boiled involuntarily, and their souls trembled. Gee, in an instant, the bodies of many phoenixes entrenched themselves in the void. There were also Swan, Blue Luan, and other bodies that emitted resplendent lights of various colors. It was as if the divine flame covered the sky and covered the earth. Countless spiritual birds were hibernating and worshipping. 100 birds worshipped the phoenix of 10,000 phoenixes. The divine flame in the Nirvana divine pool has appeared. Someone has been reborn. In the spirit sparrow terrace, the spirit lord has come out of seclusion. The entire Phoenix clan was in an uproar. At this moment, under the pressure of the two forces, even the experts in the Phoenix clan were trembling, especially from the direction of the spirit sparrow terrace. In the Nirvana divine pool, there is only Huang Linger. She is being reborn. The Spirit Lord has obtained the Vermilion Bird's inheritance. The Vermilion Bird's inheritance has appeared. In the surrounding void, on the flaming parasol tree, the elders and protectors of the Phoenix clan leader Huang Mengjun, and the others were all trembling. On this day, the Phoenix clan was in an uproar, leaving behind endless legends for the future generations. In the silent void, time seemed to have stopped. Zizi, only the occasional electric arc shuttled through the void, making zizi sounds. Neither born nor destroyed, neither destroyed nor born. Suddenly, in the silent void, there was a voice. The voice was not loud, but it resonated with the void. Zizi, in the void, Du Xiaofu's closed eyes, which were sitting cross-legged, opened again. There was a divine light shining in them, and lightning shot out. He said, neither born nor destroyed, there is no life in the first place, so there is no destruction. It is neither empty nor alive, there is neither real nor void, there is no beginning, and there is no going. If there is no life in the first place, there is no self-nature, it can give birth to all things. Chapter 1879. I understand now. As Du Xiaofu spoke, his cross-legged body shot out. A dazzling electric arc shot out from between his brows. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. It was too fast, even faster than lightning. Boom! In that instant, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. The electric arc between Du Xiaofu's brows transformed into dazzling thunderbolts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. These thunderbolts were of various colors. There was the earth-shattering thunder, the soul-destroying thunder, the starlight spiritual thunder that he had just merged with, and so on. There were a total of 5 types of spiritual thunder. At that moment, they were entrenched in the void. Their might was monstrous as they blasted down on Du Xiaofu, wanting to destroy everything. Rumble, the light of thunder and lightning flooded the void. It was boundlessly resplendent. Lightning runes were densely packed and illuminated the void. The vast 5-colored thunderbolts instantly enveloped Du Xiaofu and bombarded Du Xiaofu's physical body. 5 types of spiritual thunder. How terrifying was this? Any one of them was terrifying. At that moment, these 5 types of spiritual thunder were activated by Du Xiaofu's current cultivation. It was probably enough to kill all opponents below the Saint Realm. Among those of the same cultivation level as Du Xiaofu, there was no one who could resist it. Some of the dazzling thunderbolts condensed from electric arcs pierced through Du Xiaofu's shoulder. Some of the thunderbolts transformed into electric pythons that tore through Du Xiaofu's chest. Some of the thunderbolts blasted directly on his shoulder. In that instant, Du Xiaofu was blasted by the thunderbolts. No one dared to look directly at the scene. There is no life, so there is no destruction. However, at that moment, Du Xiaofu was completely fearless. His entire body was still glowing. He raised his head and roared. His black hair was like a waterfall that was dyed with electric arcs and drifted in the wind. Screech! With the Peng's cry piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks, the golden-winged great Peng beast in Du Xiaofu's body could rush out. Right after that, the Star Power Upanishad, the purple-flamed demonic phoenix, the dark insight grass, and the immortal grass in Du Xiaofu's body turned into 4 phantoms. Dazzling light shot into the sea of lightning, releasing dazzling light to resist the 5 kinds of lightning strikes. But soon, these main divine powers couldn't withstand the 5 types of spiritual thunder. Even with the immortal Xian body in the thunder martial vein, Du Xiaofu spat out golden blood. There is neither emptiness nor existence, there is neither reality nor emptiness, there is neither beginning nor end. Du Xiaofu shouted as he used several divine abilities to defend himself against the 5 types of spiritual lightning. This was Du Xiaofu defending himself, and as they clashed again and again, the void was shaken. On the surface of Du Xiaofu's body, a thunder martial vein appeared and covered his entire body. Du Xiaofu used the thunder martial vein to defend himself against the 5 types of spiritual thunder. However, the 5 types of spiritual thunder were too terrifying. Not long after, Du Xiaofu's body was once again covered in blood. He retreated and spat out blood. His vitality was also beginning to weaken. However, at this moment, as Du Xiaofu's vitality was weakening, the aura of the 5 types of spiritual thunder also weakened. At this moment, if someone saw this scene, they would definitely be dumbfounded and call it crazy. Du Xiaofu was pushing himself to a dead end. This was equivalent to wanting to commit suicide with no hope of survival. This was simply crazy. How could there be a breakthrough like this? Even Qi Xingpa, an expert of the older generation who had already set foot on the immortal Xian body, would definitely be dumbfounded if he was here. He definitely wouldn't be so crazy when he set foot on the immortal Xian body. This was simply 2 different paths. Du Xiaofu was attacking himself, using himself to fight himself. The aura on his body was getting weaker and weaker, and his vitality was getting weaker and weaker. Could it be that I'm wrong? No, immortal Xian body is not born or destroyed. How can one's self be born? Du Xiaofu shouted, his black hair flying. He didn't give in and didn't give in at all. He was still holding on. Rumble, the lightning fell, and blood arrows shot out from his body. It pierced through his body, and bloody holes appeared. At this moment, the immortal Xian body couldn't heal. Golden blood splashed like the sun, but it was very sad. Du Xiaofu couldn't hold on any longer. The light on his body was on the verge of dimming and was about to be annihilated. However, at this moment, just as he was about to be annihilated, Du Xiaofu's body changed. The lightning on his body shone brightly again. Roar, covered in blood, Du Xiaofu raised his head and roared like a dragon and an elephant. From the depths of Du Xiaofu's body, an inexplicable fluctuation began to spread out. It was as if the potential of the human body had been unlocked at the last moment. A deep and bright energy rose up from within Du Xiaofu's body like a dragon rising from the abyss. It spread out in waves and rushed out from the surface of his body. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body shone with lightning. The bones in his body made clanging sounds and emitted the most terrifying aura, shaking the void. A vast power also circulated around Du Xiaofu's body, devouring all the energy in the surroundings and even the energy in the stars in the void. Rumble, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The 5 types of spiritual thunder shone again, but this time, they were no longer attacking. They hovered in the void above Du Xiaofu's head. His black hair flew backward and his body shone brightly. Above the void, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was like a demonic god. In the extreme despair, a new power emerged in his body and he was transforming in the desperate situation. His body was recovering and his aura was rising. While devouring the surrounding energy, Du Xiaofu's body was boiling. He broke through the stagnant bottleneck and pushed to a new level. Immortality. With a thunderous roar, Du Xiaofu comprehended his indestructibility. The immeasurable nirvana was a new path. This realm was different from the same realm. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu had grasped the truth and the ultimate Upanishad. His aura rose. Behind him, a purple gold thunder rock spread its wings and soared. Purple gold covered the sky and earth. Purple flame demonic phoenix, grass of immortality, and dark seeker grass also appeared in the void. These Upanishad beast abilities were also deduced to a new level. The most miraculous thing was that in the void, a void 8 trigrams diagram was faintly discernible. In the heavenly stellar secret realm, the outer heaven star that occupied the void flickered intensely. Vast energy surged from within. In front of the outer heaven star, there was also a graceful figure. She was devouring the energy in the outer heaven star. Her aura rose and the starlight rippled like a spiral galaxy. As time passed, the cultivators in the 3 continents Kyushu all headed for the heavenly devil battlefield. The crowd surged into the heavenly devil battlefield. News spread from the heavenly devil battlefield. Evil spirits were breeding inside. It was terrifying and a great war was about to break out. Countless ancient treasures had also appeared. Ancient inheritances had been found. Danger and danger coexisted. The mountain peak was covered in dusky light. Black fog covered the sun. A figure stood there silently. He was tall and sturdy, and he had a deep and fair face that revealed a well-defined arc. Find him. I want Du Xiaofu's whereabouts. The voice was ethereal. As soon as the voice fell, the figure disappeared. Farewell, second prince. The voice reverberated in the mountain peak. Many figures flew out and quietly disappeared into the void. In the outer heaven star, the void gradually calmed down. The energy in the entire void had also reached the stage of exhaustion. Du Xiaofu floated in the void with his eyes closed. The 5 types of spiritual lightning above his head had already dissipated. The aura on his body was as calm as water. There was no fluctuation at all. Tsk tisk, suddenly, the eyelashes on his tightly shut eyes trembled slightly. He suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were like two small suns. Golden light shot out. A vast aura swept out from his body. His long hair flowed down like a waterfall. It shook the surrounding void and shattered it inch by inch. His aura shook and shattered the void. The space rippled like stormy waves. How domineering and powerful was that? At that moment, Du Xiaofu's aura rose to the peak. His body made a clanging sound. It was as if thousands of beasts were galloping inside his body. His celestial qi was vast and surging. Du Xiaofu clenched his fist slightly. The surrounding void trembled and formed a whirlpool. If he punched out, it would be enough to shatter the void. Is this the power of immortality? With a smile on his face, Du Xiaofu's clenched fist slowly relaxed. The aura on his body also gradually retracted. The void returned to its original calm state. Such an increase in power and the pleasure brought by a breakthrough in cultivation was a fatal temptation to any cultivator. It was incomparable. I've finally broken through. Du Xiaofu smiled. He had finally broken through to the state of immortality. All his efforts had not been in vain. Using his mind to probe, Du Xiaofu looked inwardly at the primordial spirit in his Naiwan palace. The primordial spirit of the red-bone horse monkey's primordial spirit was originally silver gold in color. Extreme Een Sky Thunder. After refining and fusing with the soul seed of the starlight spiritual thunder, Du Xiaofu also learned about the origin of the spiritual thunder. It was the extreme Een Sky Thunder. It was not born in the star beyond heaven, but it was awakened and grew in the star beyond heaven. In the boundless void, the lightning was resplendent. There was a world-destroying divine thunder exploding. A bolt of lightning streaked across the void and landed on the stars in outer space. It had been dormant for countless years before it awakened and gradually grew to its current state. This was what Du Xiaofu learned after refining and fusing with the great Een Sky lightning. Everything else was a blur and he had no idea. After absorbing the fifth spiritual thunder, his primordial spirit transformed again. It was even more terrifying. This made Du Xiaofu very happy. He did not expect to gain so much from entering the Yin-Yang School's Tianqian secret realm. Crack crack, suddenly, a small crack appeared and echoed in the void. Du Xiaofu looked up. In the void of the star beyond heaven, small cracks began to appear. It's time to go out. Yi Shi must be worried. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. He took out a new set of robes from his Qianquan bag and changed into his ragged purple robes. He turned into a ray of light and left the void. Outside the star beyond heaven, Qi Yi Shi was shrouded in starlight. It was as if a miniature galaxy was circling around her. The stars revolved around her. It was extremely mysterious. Pust. Du Xiaofu appeared. Looking at the beautiful figure sitting cross-legged, his eyes narrowed. He looked surprised and said, "You've reached the domain realm." Chapter 1880. Du Xiaofu was stunned by Qi Yishi's presence. However, Qi Yishi's presence was without a doubt much more vigorous and terrifying than the domain realm. After all, Qi Yishi's domain realm was the nirvana of samsara. The domain realm that Du Xiaofu spoke of was the nirvana of samsara for Qi Yishi. The fact that Qi Yishi had made such a huge breakthrough so quickly had indeed exceeded Du Xiaofu's expectations. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly and looked at the floating star of outer space. Du Xiaofu could not help but cry out in surprise. The stars in the sky that were originally filled with starlight and vast energy pressure had now become dim and dark. There was no longer any pressure or energy overflowing. It was as if all the energy and vast power that had originally enveloped the space had been exhausted and dried up. Huff, as he exhaled a mouthful of foul air, a power that shook space swept out, causing it to resonate. Qi Yishi woke up. Her eyes were covered with starlight, as if they contained a galaxy. It seems to be quite effective. Du Xiaofu pulled his gaze away from the star of outer space and smiled at the woman who had just woken up. I've improved in the mysteries of stars after the nirvana of samsara. I've benefited a lot. Qi Yishi obviously did not hold back at all from the man before her. The benefits that the star of outer space had brought her were not insignificant. However, when she looked at the dim star of outer space, her starry eyes rippled. She said, "Every time the heavenly stellar secret realm opens, the star of outer space will be drained of energy, and it'll take many years for it to recover." It doesn't seem to be that simple. Du Xiaofu stared at the dim star of outer space and raised his eyebrows. With the sharp power of his soul, he could sense a strange pulse from the dim star of outer space. The space within the star of outer space had cracked earlier. It did not seem like the star of outer space had just been drained of energy. The moment Du Xiaofu's words left his mouth, the sound of cracking came from the outside of the dim star. Then, cracks spread out like a spiderweb, and the star shattered. Boom, his voice reverberated in the air, shaking the void. The enormous celestial body that was suspended in the void collapsed like a falling cliff. Rocks and dust poured down like a waterfall. It was as if a storm of dust and rocks had fallen. Du Xiaofu pulled Qi Yishi and retreated tens of thousands of feet away. Only then did they manage to escape the impact of the rain of rocks. How could this be? Qi Yishi's beautiful face turned pale. The outer heaven star had a great relationship with the school of Yin Yang, but it was completely shattered at this moment. A beam of starlight shot out from the falling dust and appeared in front of Qi Yishi like a bolt of lightning. It was so silent that even Du Xiaofu did not notice it. Qi Yishi only noticed it when the beam of starlight appeared in front of her eyes. Her beautiful face turned pale, but it was too late. This beam of starlight was too strange. It shot straight into Qi Yishi's forehead. The light was so dazzling that Qi Yishi had to close her eyes tightly. Then, the starlight disappeared. "Be careful!" Du Xiaofu exclaimed. He wanted to stop it, but it was too late. "I'm fine." In an instant, Qi Yishi opened her eyes again. She was surprised as well. She looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "It's gone. I can't find it." Du Xiaofu formed a seal with his hand. A vast aura fluctuated, and runes shot out and enveloped Qi Yishi. "It's very strange." But a moment later, Du Xiaofu withdrew his hand seal. His face was also very serious. The beam of starlight that had just shot into Qi Yishi's body had disappeared. It was impossible to find it. "At least I'm fine now. Maybe it has really disappeared." Qi Yishi looked at Du Xiaofu as her red lips curled into a bitter smile. She had already checked her body with her mind. After the strange starlight entered her forehead, it strangely disappeared. It did not cause any ripples at all. "Be careful." Du Xiaofu was still a little worried. The star of outer space was very strange in itself. After it had completely disappeared, a beam of starlight had shot out. Maybe he was just overthinking. That beam of starlight had already dissipated. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to not find it. He hoped that nothing unexpected had happened. "The star of outer space does not exist. I have to go out and inform the elders immediately," said Qi Yishi. The star of outer space was extremely important to the school of Yin Yang. She had to inform the elders of the school of Yin Yang immediately. "We should also go out. I wonder what it's like outside now." Calculating the time, it had been almost 3 months since they had entered the Tianqin space of the school of Yin Yang. Du Xiaofu was also worried about everything outside. Of course, Du Xiaofu was also worried about his barren kingdom. After all, he had too many enemies. Du Xiaofu had to keep an eye out at all times. He could not afford any accidents to happen to the barren kingdom. "I already know about the star of outer space. It has been in the school of Yin Yang for so many years," and its fate with the school of Yin Yang has come to an end. It is a pity that no one in the school of Yin Yang has been able to truly comprehend the secrets of the star of outer space. Just as Qi Yeshi and Du Xiaofu finished speaking, a faint voice was heard, the heavenly devil battlefield has opened, and the great calamity has begun. All the major forces are moving, geniuses are competing, and sovereigns are competing for supremacy. The two of you should enter as soon as possible before saints can enter. As soon as the voice was heard, the void became calm. There were no more fluctuations. Yes, Moon Saint. Qi Yi Shi looked up and bowed respectfully. The heavenly devil battlefield has opened. Du Xiaofu's eyes shone with golden light. He had heard of the heavenly devil battlefield many times. Dong Xian, Nan Ru, and the others had also said that saints were not allowed to fight before the heavenly devil battlefield opened. But now that the heavenly devil battlefield had opened, the ban was no longer restricted. Several hours later, in the great hall of the school of Yin Yang, Qi Mingxian stared at Du Xiaofu carefully and his expression changed. He seemed to have sensed something and could not help but ask, "Have you broken through to the undying realm?" "I have some insights. I have to thank the Lord for granting me this." Du Xiaofu nodded. There was nothing to hide. This, Qi Mingxuan's expression was somewhat sluggish. He stared at Du Xiaofu and felt speechless. The man before him had only cultivated for a short period of time, and he had already surpassed him. In such a short period of time in the secret realm of Tianqian, he had broken through to the undying realm. It took Qi Mingxian, a supreme being of the older generation, nearly 1,000 years to break through to such a level. Fortunately, Uncle led the team to the heavenly devil battlefield. Qi Mingxian smiled bitterly and felt helpless. Fortunately, Qi Mingxian was no longer in the school of Yin Yang. If he knew that Du Xiaofu had broken through to the undying realm in such a short period of time, given the old man's arrogance, he would probably find a hole to hide in this time after being trampled on last time. Now that both of them were in the undying realm, if the two of them were to fight, the consequences of Qi Mingxian could be imagined. Chapter 1881. Qi Yeshi smiled silently as she looked at her father's shocked expression. She knew best that Du Xiaofu had fused and refined the bolt of spiritual lightning in the heavenly star's secret realm. If her father knew about this, who knew how shocked he would be? He would probably feel heartache. A bolt of spiritual lightning was no ordinary object. According to the information my school of Yin Yang received, your father Du Tingxian has already led the people of the desolate nation into the heavenly devil battlefield. The 9 great clans, the Beast region, the Yao realm, and so on have all entered as well. The geniuses and sovereigns are fighting for supremacy. While they are purging the demons, they are also fighting for various ancient opportunities. After being surprised, Qi Mingxuan's expression immediately returned to normal. Looking at Du Xiaofu, he paused for a moment before saying to Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi, "After the two of you enter the heavenly devil battlefield, you have to pay attention to the Phoenix clan and the Dragon clan. It is said that the Phoenix clan has seen a lot of strange phenomena recently. It is rumored that Huang Ling has undergone nirvana rebirth and obtained endless benefits. In addition, the Phoenix clan is very secretive, and there might be a peerless talent emerging. Dragon 2 of the Dragon clan has also entered. Even Gongsun and Qin Gongsun were not able to deal with him." Hearing this, Du Xiaofu's gaze flickered. Huang Linger of the Phoenixes had already undergone nirvanic rebirth. He wondered how the little ant emperor was doing. Had he successfully undergone nirvanic rebirth and become a sovereign ant phoenix? As for the many strange phenomena that had appeared in the phoenixes, even the school of Yin Yang was unable to reveal the details. Du Xiaofu guessed that little Xingxing might have already come out of the spirit sparrow terrace. As for the dragons, Du Xiaofu could already imagine from Qi Mingxuan's words that Gongsun Wuji and Qin Wudi were also afraid that Dragon 2 was definitely a terrifying existence. He was even stronger than Qin Wudi and Gongsun Wuji. And with his relationship with the dragons, if they encountered each other, they would definitely not be able to smile. Exalt, have the golden-winged great rocks already entered the heavenly devil battlefield? Du Xiaofu asked Qi Mingxian. High Lord. Shouldn't you change the way you address me? Qi Mingxian looked at Du Xiaofu, his eyes raised, and the corner of his mouth slightly curled. Or are you planning to deny it now, brat? Let me tell you, I, Qi Mingxian, have a son and a daughter, but I especially doted on my daughter since she was young. She chose you, so I naturally have nothing to say, but if you dare to let her down in the future and let her be bullied in the slightest, I will definitely not let you off even if I have to risk my life. Father. Qi Yeshi held her father's hand and blushed. She secretly looked at Du Xiaofu with a sly smile in her eyes. She was clearly warning Du Xiaofu not to bully her in the future. But at this moment, Qi Yeshi was more happy in her heart. Her father's words clearly meant that he had officially agreed. This was also the attitude of the entire Yinyang school. Father-in-law, I will definitely not let Yeshi suffer in the slightest. In this life, with my life, I will not let anyone bully her. Du Xiaofu knelt on one knee and saluted. This was the attitude of his future father-in-law in front of him, and this salute was also his attitude. You are not married yet. Isn't it too early to call me father-in-law? Calling me Exalt is a little too formal. Actually, you can just call me uncle. Qi Mingxian looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. Du Xiaofu was stunned. Father, why are you bullying him? Qi Yeshi stomped her foot and pouted angrily at Qi Mingxian. Look at you. You are not even married yet and you are already siding with an outsider. Qi Mingxian smiled helplessly and immediately pulled Du Xiaofu to his feet. He patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder and smiled with satisfaction. I accept this salute. It doesn't matter if you call me father-in-law now or later. We will be family in the future. Don't treat me like an outsider. How could Qi Mingxian not be aware of the person in front of him? What was there to be dissatisfied about? On the other hand, Qi Yeshi stomped her foot and rolled her eyes at her father. He was clearly taking advantage of her and yet he was still acting innocent. Then, she continued to stand beside Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu smiled helplessly. This future father-in-law of his was not an ordinary person. This pit was dug without a trace, but he could also feel that this father-in-law of his didn't treat him as an outsider. This pit was also one that he willingly jumped into. Let's talk about business. The golden-winged great rocks should be Jialo Jueyu. Jialo Kaling and the others have already entered, so you don't have to worry about the golden-winged great rocks. That clan's foundation is not ordinary. Even with your relationship with the golden-winged great rocks, the dragon race, the school of legalism, and the school of vertical and horizontal wouldn't dare to really touch the golden-winged great rocks. They only dare to touch you, since you're the instigator. If they touch you, they can say something, and the golden-winged great rocks will know the reason, but if they dare to openly attack the golden-winged great rocks, the golden-winged great rocks will not let it go. If the golden-winged rock clan doesn't dare to touch them, the golden-winged rock clan won't let them off easily. Qi Mingxian looked at Du Xiaofu and said with a smile that was not a smile, there is still someone in the golden-winged rock clan that everyone in this world has to fear. It is rumored that this senior has reached the end of his life. But as long as there is no confirmed news, no one in this world, including the 9 great clans, the dragons and the phoenixes, would dare to provoke the golden-winged rock clan. There is still a hidden expert in the golden-winged rock clan. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu was surprised in his heart as well. He was able to discern from the words of his father-in-law, Qi Mingxian, that there seemed to be an extraordinary expert within the golden-winged rock clan, and it caused the various great powers in the world to be deeply afraid of it. Kid, you have entered the heavenly devil battlefield. Although Saint Realm experts are still unable to enter, you still have to be extra careful. The feud between you and the legalism is not ordinary. They will definitely not let you off easily. Once there is an opportunity in the heavenly devil battlefield, they will not let it go. You have to be extra careful, Qi Mingxian said to Du Xiaofu seriously. They'd better not meet me. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. Saint Realm experts were still unable to enter the heavenly devil battlefield. Once he met the legalism, the school of vertical and horizontal, as well as the dragons, it was hard to say who would deal with who. Of course, if he met the legalism and the others in the heavenly devil battlefield, Du Xiaofu did not plan to be courteous. Father-in-law, I plan to go directly to the heavenly devil battlefield and will not return to the desolate country. I'll have to trouble you to take care of my desolate country. He was not afraid of meeting the dragons, the school of vertical and horizontal, but Du Xiaofu could not help but worry about the desolate country. The prohibition of Saint Realm experts not being able to fight no longer existed, especially the legalism, who was extremely shameless. Once a Saint Realm expert attacked the desolate country would not be able to resist. Even if a domain realm expert attacked, most of the desolate country's experts would have entered the heavenly devil battlefield. The desolate country would not be able to resist, so Du Xiaofu could not help but worry. Don't worry, those Saint Realm experts can't just attack as they wish. Once there's any movement, I believe that the golden-winged Great Peng Bird clan will not stand idly by. Besides, once my school of Yin Yang learns of this, we will know what to do. Qi Mingxian smiled faintly and said, I believe that the legalism and the other Saint Realm experts will not dare to go on a killing spree. You have Fui Bai and the others behind you, so their main target will definitely be you. If those experts attack others, it would not be a wise choice. Chapter 1882. It's still not enough. I must step into the Saint Realm as soon as possible. A wisp of golden light flashed in Du Xiaofu's eyes, and a resolute look appeared on his face. Although he had already stepped into the immortal realm, this world was still the world of the Sage Realm cultivators after all. A Domain Realm cultivator was enough to move unhindered, but a Sage Realm cultivator wouldn't be enough to deal with him. Du Xiaofu had always possessed the strength to fight against those who were at a higher level than him. However, he was well aware that the Sage Realm and the Domain Realm were the real dividing line between the super experts. The difference between the two realms was like the difference between heaven and earth. His current level of cultivation and strength was enough for him to not feel much pressure from those below the Sage Realm. However, he would definitely feel pressured if he were to encounter a genuine Sage expert. Although there were such experts in the Golden-Winged Great Peng clan, and the Yin Yang school, Long family, and Mo family had a good relationship with him, the desolate country didn't have a true Saint Realm expert to hold down the fort in case of an emergency. After all, Old Lei was only a half-step Saint Realm expert. Fui Bai, what's the origin of this old fellow? Du Xiaofu muttered in his heart. He was becoming more and more astonished by Fui Bai's identity, especially after the appearance of Fui Bai and Ouyang Shuang's master, Crazy Old Man. They could easily trample on Saint Realm experts, which was simply shocking. This also made Du Xiaofu decide that the next time he met Fui Bai, he would definitely ask him properly. The three chatted for a while before Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi left the Yin Yang school and headed for the heavenly devil battlefield. Qi Mingxian personally sent them off. At the entrance of the Yin Yang school, Qi Mingxian stopped Qi Yeshi. He looked at his beloved daughter with a gentle and loving gaze and said softly, "That kid is pretty good, and I have nothing to say. The elders in the family probably won't be able to say anything either. He doesn't seem like someone who would bully you. However, I still have something to tell you. If that kid makes you angry in the future, don't tell me, because you will forgive him sooner or later. In my heart, I won't allow anyone to make you unhappy. However, if that kid really bullies you, don't hide it from me." "Thank you, father." Qi Yeshi knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times respectfully. Tears welled up in the corners of her eyes, but she quickly retracted them. How could she not understand her father's intentions? "You silly girl, hurry up and go. Be careful in the heavenly devil battlefield. The future of the school of Yin Yang rests on your shoulders. Your talent is greater than your brother's, so the responsibility naturally rests on your shoulders. Remember to return safely." The light in Qi Mingshuan's eyes fluctuated. How could he be at ease when the heavenly devil battlefield was still uncertain? However, as the lord of the school of Yin Yang and a cultivator, he knew that his daughter had to enter the heavenly devil battlefield this time. Daughter will definitely return safely. Qi Yeshi said goodbye to her father and left. She knew that her father was worried about her, so she left behind a confident smile before leaving with Du Xiaofu. Whoosh whoosh, the two figures turned into rainbows and disappeared in mid-air after a few flashes. "What did your father tell you?" In mid-air, Du Xiaofu asked Qi Yeshi. Qi Yeshi had a smile on her face. Her beautiful figure followed beside Du Xiaofu. Her hair fluttered in the wind, moving one's heart and soul. Her red lips parted slightly as a sly smile appeared in her eyes. "My father told me that if you dare to bully me, he won't spare you." "How would I dare to bully you?" Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly. He still remembered that he didn't get the upper hand in Tianwu Academy. "That's more like it." Qi Yeshi smiled. Starlight rippled under her feet, and the graceful guidance drew a graceful arc in the air, speeding up ahead. Du Xiaofu's figure stopped in mid-air. Looking at the graceful guidance, a smile appeared on his face. Golden light flickered under his feet, and his figure drifted like a deity as he immediately chased after her. The heavenly devil battlefield was a place outside the Kyushu domain of the three continents. It was called the Void Plains by the elders. It was rumored that it was a land of death. Birds couldn't set foot on it, and neither could humans nor beasts. Even time lost its meaning there. Therefore, very few people knew about the Void Plains, and no one would go there. But recently, the Void Plains had been in an uproar. It was all because the heavenly devil battlefield had opened on the Void Plains. It had attracted all the supreme geniuses of the current era, and alarmed all the forces of the current era. Whoosh, 2 days later, the sound of wind breaking could be heard in the calm void. Then, two figures flashed across the void. The heavenly devil battlefield is a battlefield left behind from ancient times. The main battlefield of the great calamity of the world was there. Rumor has it that the supreme expert and the dragon god sealed those demons in Kyushu. At best, there are only a few scattered demons. The real demons are in the heavenly devil battlefield. The ancient ancestors of the various forces are there as well. However, after so many years, those ancient ancestors of the various forces have reached the end of their lifespan. Or perhaps, they have already perished. It's impossible for them to survive. This time, the various forces have sent people into the heavenly devil battlefield not only to investigate the situation of the revival of the ancient demons, but also to find the inheritances left behind by the ancient ancestors that were sealed in the heavenly devil battlefield. Those inheritances are very ancient. That was the most glorious and peak of the various forces. Once you obtain those inheritances, you will regain your glory. In mid-air, Qi Yeshi told Du Xiaofu about the history of the heavenly devil battlefield. She also sighed. Back then, did the 9 great families, the dragons, the phoenixes, and the others all help the supreme expert and the dragon god seal the demons? Du Xiaofu didn't expect that there were so many other things happening in the heavenly devil battlefield. It was no wonder that the various forces were so active. Actually, they didn't really help. Qi Yeshi smiled bitterly. She said, actually, the 9 great families didn't listen to the supreme expert willingly. As far as I know, many forces of the 9 great families have always been dissatisfied with the ban that the supreme expert left behind. If it weren't for the mysterious eastern deity, southern Ru, western Yao, and the others, people from the 9 great families would have come out long ago. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes when he heard that. He became more and more curious. He asked Qi Yeshi, "Is there some hidden story?" Qi Yeshi sighed helplessly. She said, "When the heavenly devil battlefield was sealed, many of the various forces, including the ancient ancestors of the 9 great families, were also sealed inside. They couldn't withdraw at all. Almost all of the outstanding experts of the various forces and the 9 great families were buried in the heavenly devil battlefield. Many of the inheritances of the various forces were also directly buried in the heavenly devil battlefield." "I see." Du Xiaofu finally understood. When the Lord of 3,000 Cosmoses and the Dragon God sealed the heavenly devil battlefield, it was impossible for them to withdraw the experts of the various forces at that time and seal them inside. Those ancient ancestors of the various forces represented the glorious era of the various forces and the 9 great families. This seal also completely buried them. One could imagine the feelings of the various forces and the 9 great families. Chapter 1883. The Great Tribulation of Heaven and Earth has descended once again. If we can't stop it, then even if we can obtain those inheritances, they would be useless. After a moment, Du Xiaofu said. The Great Tribulation of Heaven and Earth had already begun. Once those demons revived, the world would become a demonic domain. What use would it be to obtain those inheritances then? It is said that the 9 great families, the dragons, and the phoenixes are not as simple as they appear on the surface. Even if the Great Tribulation of Heaven and Earth descends once again, they might still have a way out. Therefore, if we want to rely on the 9 great families, the dragons, and the phoenixes to truly work together to resist this Great Tribulation of Heaven and Earth, I'm afraid that it won't be too easy. However, I've only heard about this occasionally. Qi Yeshi said to Du Xiaofu, "Of course, if the Great Tribulation of Heaven and Earth descends once again, obtaining those inheritances will also increase our chances of resisting the Great Tribulation of Heaven and Earth. I hope that all the major powers can think this way and work together." "I hope so," Du Xiaofu said solemnly. "Oh right, there's something that you might not know. It is said that the one who suffered the most losses in the heavenly devil battlefield back then was not the 9 great families, nor the dragons and phoenixes. It was another major power. Almost all of their experts were buried in the heavenly devil battlefield. If that major power had not suffered such great losses back then, I'm afraid that the 9 great families, the dragons, and the phoenixes would not be reigning supreme now. Even if they were not the most dazzling, they would still be shining brightly." Qi Yeshi said to Du Xiaofu with a smile. "What kind of power is that? Could it be the golden-winged great Pingbird clan?" Du Xiaofu was quite curious. Apart from the 9 great families, the dragons, and the phoenixes, only the golden-winged great Pingbird clan had the qualifications to do so. The golden-winged great Pingbird clan is powerful, but they have never interfered in the affairs of the world. Qi Yeshi shook her head and said to Du Xiaofu, "That power has a lot to do with you and me. Does it have anything to do with both of us?" Du Xiaofu was even more curious. He thought carefully in his mind and murmured softly, "Rumor has it that there are the White Tiger clan, the Dark Heavenly Tiger clan, and the Black Tortoise clan in this world. Could it be them? However, these 2 clans are very far apart and have nothing to do with each other. The Tiger clan is indeed very strong. Rumor has it that the White Tiger exists in this world. However, no one has seen it in this world. Even the Dark Sky Tiger has long disappeared. Even the Black Tortoise seems to have only been heard of." Qi Yeshi looked at Du Xiaofu and slowed down. "The force I'm talking about isn't the Tiger race or the Black Tortoise race." At this point, Qi Yeshi paused and her expression gradually turned serious. She then continued to speak to Du Xiaofu, "The faction I'm talking about is Tianwu Academy." "What?" Hearing Qi Yeshi's answer, even with Du Xiaofu's composure, he was stunned. He didn't expect Tianwu Academy to be able to compete with the 9 great clans, dragons, and phoenixes. Back then, Tianwu Academy was located in the Dark Forest. Even though it had some reputation in the central region and its students were scattered all over the central region, it was still considered a second-rate power at best. Du Xiaofu never expected Tianwu Academy to be able to compete with the 9 great clans, dragons, and phoenixes in the ancient times. How could Du Xiaofu not be shocked? Seeing Du Xiaofu's shocked expression, Qi Yeshi smiled and said, "In the ancient times, when Tianwu Academy was at its peak, even the 9 great clans, dragons, and phoenixes couldn't compete with it. Our Tianwu Academy had a glorious past, but almost all of the experts of Tianwu Academy were sealed in the Heavenly Devil battlefield, resulting in Tianwu Academy's decline. Even so, the 9 great clans, dragons, and phoenixes didn't dare to offend Tianwu Academy." Upon mentioning Tianwu Academy, Qi Yeshi couldn't help but feel proud as she was once a member of Tianwu Academy. Du Xiaofu took in a deep breath. It was no wonder why Qi Yeshi and his mother were once in Tianwu Academy. Given his mother and Qi Yeshi's identities in the School of Legalism and School of Yin Yang, it was extremely abnormal for them to appear in the small Tianwu Academy located in the Dark Forest. However, after hearing about Tianwu Academy's glory, Du Xiaofu didn't find it strange anymore. "Actually, when I entered Tianwu Academy, it was also arranged by my family. They hoped to find something in Tianwu Academy. I believe your mother had the same goal as me when she entered Tianwu Academy. However, I didn't expect to meet your father. Fate is truly wonderful." A smile appeared on Qi Yeshi's face. Back then, she also didn't expect that she would meet Zhang Xian in Tianwu Academy. What does Tianwu Academy have that could tempt the School of Legalism and School of Yin Yang? Du Xiaofu couldn't help but ask. Even though Tianwu Academy had an unimaginably glorious past, it had already declined. What else could it have that could tempt the School of Yin Yang and Legalism? In the Heavenly Devil battlefield, the main force that resisted the demons wasn't the 9 great clans, the dragons, or the phoenixes. Instead, it was the ancient experts in Tianwu Academy. However, almost all of them were sealed and buried in the Heavenly Devil battlefield, leaving behind countless inheritances and treasures. Qi Yeshi didn't hide anything from Du Xiaofu and told him everything she knew. Legend has it that the ancient experts in Tianwu Academy were willing to be sealed in the Heavenly Devil battlefield. However, they were afraid that the inheritance of Tianwu Academy would be buried, so before they were sealed, they left behind a treasure for Tianwu Academy. When the seal disappears and the Heavenly Devil battlefield reopens, they would be able to obtain the inheritance left behind by the ancient experts and rebuild Tianwu Academy's glory. However, after so many years, the number of people who know about this matter has dwindled. There aren't many people left in the world, so no one has been able to find the legendary item. What did Tianwu Academy leave behind? Du Xiaofu's eyes widened as he pondered. Back then, the Divine Radiance Court had also been searching for something in Tianwu Academy. However, from what Du Xiaofu knew, Tianwu Academy didn't leave behind anything other than the ancient desolate space. If there was really that item and he could obtain it, he would be able to rebuild Tianwu Academy's glory. He wouldn't let Vice Principal Zhuge down. The Heavenly Devil battlefield is extraordinarily dangerous. Those demons won't die so easily. According to the information obtained by the School of Yin Yang, the Heavenly Devil battlefield has practically become a paradise for demons. Every day, we'll have to face demons head-on. The deeper we go, the stronger the demons will be. Qi Yeshi said to Du Xiaofu, "You also have to be wary of legalism, dragons, and School of Vertical and Horizontal. Be careful when the time comes." Du Xiaofu nodded his head. However, his thoughts were still lingering on Tianwu Academy's past glory that Qi Yeshi had mentioned. He hoped that he would be able to find the inheritance left behind by the ancient experts of Tianwu Academy. This time around, the Heavenly Devil battlefield was already facing a calamity. Du Xiaofu also hoped that he would be able to break through to the Saint Realm in the Heavenly Devil battlefield. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to deal with legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. With the demons wreaking havoc, he probably wouldn't be able to protect his desolate country. So, the two of them turned into streaks of light and flew in the direction of the heavenly devil battlefield, crossing through regions. Wait, Du Xiaofu suddenly stopped in front of a lofty mountain range, where the steep mountain peaks were connected to each other. What's wrong? Qi Yeshi stopped beside Du Xiaofu and looked in the direction of the mountain range in front of her. Qi Yeshi released her consciousness but didn't sense anything special. Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked at the towering mountain range in front of him. He sensed the fluctuations of his yuan spirit and his forehead glowed. His expression turned serious as he said, "Something's not right. It's too abnormal that there aren't any birds or beasts in such a huge place." Qi Yeshi's heart skipped a beat when she heard Du Xiaofu's words. Her eyes shone with starlight as she cautiously scanned the surroundings. "Junior, your senses aren't bad. However, you're going to die today. Don't go to the heavenly devil battlefield." Suddenly, a cold voice rang out from the void. Following that, a ball of fire burned in the void. Heavenly fire swept out and turned into a flaming claw print. It tore through the void and quietly appeared above Du Xiaofu's head. Raging flames filled the void. This flame was very illusory. It wasn't an open flame, but it burned an area of space until it was blurry. Moreover, it carried a terrifying and vast pressure that could make all living beings feel pressure from the depths of their souls, causing them to want to bow down in worship and reverence. This pressure was too strong. Qi Yeshi's expression changed abruptly. Du Xiaofu looked at the flaming claw print in the void. Such a vast aura gave him a familiar feeling. Du Xiaofu had felt this terrifying pressure before. Although his cultivation was not what it used to be, this pressure was still terrifying. It was a kind of suppression of the realm. Holy martial realm. Du Xiaofu's heart trembled. He wanted to bow down and worship it. This was a vast and unparalleled pressure of the holy martial realm. It was filled with an unstoppable pressure. It was obvious that this holy martial realm cultivator had been waiting here to deal with him. He wanted to kill him. The thunder martial vein, the 8 trigrams profound, and the 5 spiritual thunders in his body. Du Xiaofu instantly activated them. In the face of the holy martial realm cultivator's attack, Du Xiaofu didn't retreat at all. He resisted with all his strength. Qi Yeshi was by his side. He couldn't let her suffer any harm. Qi La. Suddenly, at this critical moment, the void quietly fluctuated. Immediately after, a beam of light shot over from the horizon. A monstrous aura descended, causing the entire world to suddenly dim. Qi La. The ray of light pierced through the void and directly pierced through the terrifying flaming claw print. Suddenly, the flames swept out. The runes were dazzling, and a terrifying energy swept out in all directions. There was a buzzing sound in the sky. The sky darkened. It was as if the world had fallen into the night in an instant. A bright moon hung in the sky, filled with moonlight. Chapter 1884. However, upon closer inspection, the moon wasn't a real moon. Instead, it was a ray of light that wrapped around a beautiful figure. The figure was mysterious and beautiful, hazy and vast. "It's the moon saint." Qi Yeshi was surprised, then delighted. The saint martial realm of the school of vertical and horizontal, the super expert of the school of yin-yang. Du Xiaofu, who was about to use his full strength, stopped. His eyes rippled with complicated emotions. He had sensed the familiar aura of flames outside the divine dominion before. It was the saint martial realm of the school of vertical and horizontal. The school of vertical and horizontal had set up an ambush here to kill him. The super expert of the school of yin-yang must have secretly sent him off from the school of yin-yang. Otherwise, he wouldn't have appeared here in such a timely manner. The Heavenly Devil battlefield is not far ahead. You two go first. A faint voice came from the alluring figure within the moonlight. Xiaofu, let's go first. The Moon Saint is enough to deal with him. Qi Yeshi immediately said to Du Xiaofu. The Heavenly Devil battlefield was right ahead. As long as they entered, the Saint Martial Realm cultivators couldn't enter yet. Is the school of Yin Yang really going to interfere? At the same time, a deep voice came from the depths of the void. It seemed to be very angry, and the void trembled. You're not qualified. These were the only words that came from within the bright moonlight. The hazy silhouette shook her wrist and clenched her fist. Suddenly, moonlight surged in the sky, and a river of stars appeared. A huge hand of starlight that was thousands of feet long suddenly took shape. It rotated with the stars, and then it slammed into the void in front of her. Attack together. A deep voice came from the depths of the void. A terrifying flame surged out and turned into a huge pillar of flame Xian Qi. Roar, a deafening dragon's roar shook the soul. A terrifying light suddenly appeared, like a cloud dragon soaring into the sky. Boom! The two terrifying forces instantly collided with the starlight handprint. When the three forces collided, a frightening wind ripple surged out in all directions. The steep mountains around them were directly shaken by the terrifying shockwaves and collapsed. Huge rocks rolled down, and dust filled the sky. Humph! Terrifying gales of energy swept out and two muffled groans were heard in the air. It was apparent that the two who fought the Moon Saint from the Yin Yang school had suffered some losses. Are there still dragons? I'll remember this. Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings unfolded behind him. He grabbed Qi Yeshi and turned into a beam of golden light that shot into the sky. The Saint Martial Saint from the school of vertical and horizontal and the Saint Martial Saint from the dragons had appeared at the same time. They had planned this all along, but the two of them seemed to be no match for the Moon Saint from the school of Yin Yang even when they worked together, so there was nothing to worry about. To prevent any accidents from happening, Du Xiaofu knew that he couldn't be of much help. With Qi Yeshi by his side, he left for the Heavenly Devil battlefield. However, Du Xiaofu had already remembered this debt in his heart. The dragons and the school of vertical and horizontal were really taking him seriously. They even had a saint stage expert waiting to kill him halfway. Du Xiaofu had no idea what was going on behind him as he traveled quickly. However, he felt that the Moon Saint from the school of Yin Yang should have no problem dealing with the saints from the school of vertical and horizontal and the dragons. A while later, a vast abyss appeared before Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. Mist fell from the sky like a curtain. It seemed to be the end of the world. We'll reach the entrance to the Heavenly Devil battlefield after we pass through here, Qi Yeshi said. Let's go. Du Xiaofu didn't stop. The golden wings of the great rock flapped as his silhouette arced through the air, passing through the fog. A vast plain appeared before him. The plain was boundless. Demonic clouds floated and the voices of gods and demons echoed. A mirage-like scene appeared in the air above the plain. Mountains stretched across and the sky was dark. It seemed to lead to another world. Whoosh, whoosh, many beings appeared on the plain. None of them noticed Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. The figures of these living beings soared into the sky and entered the mirage-like world. One by one, they were swallowed up by the light and disappeared. We'll probably be separated. That's the entrance. Because of the seal, the more powerful you are, the more you'll be suppressed. It's even more impossible for saints to enter, Qi Yeshi said to Du Xiaofu. The school of Yin Yang had received a lot of information during this time. The school of vertical and horizontal and the dragons should have entered long ago, Du Xiaofu said softly as he looked up at the mirage-like sky. Of course. Many have entered. The older generation, the younger generation, and some old people who have lived for a long time. Many who have not reached the Saint Plane have entered, Qi Yeshi said softly. That's good. Murderous intent flashed in Du Xiaofu's eyes. Golden light surged, but then it was restrained. He looked at Qi Yeshi beside him and gently pulled her into his arms. He left a kiss on her forehead and held her hand in his palm. Let's go in. Be careful. Okay. Qi Yeshi nodded. There was a faint blush on her cheeks, which made her look even more alluring. Swoosh. Two figures soared into the sky and entered the heavenly devil battlefield. When they entered the void, the space around them suddenly distorted. It was as if a void passage had penetrated the space. It was hazy. Walking in it was as if they were walking on the river of time between the present and ancient times. In the hazy void, the stars moved and the scene was blurry. Boom! Suddenly, the void trembled violently. Ancient runes flickered and the space was in chaos. There was a terrible pressure crushing down. This is the power of the seal. It hasn't disappeared yet. Be careful. Qi Yeshi cried out. The terrible power was so strong that it pushed Du Xiaofu and her away in an instant. Both of them were crushed and distorted by the void. How can it be so strong? Du Xiaofu was also surprised. His spiritual soul trembled. This terrible seal was too strong. The surrounding void seemed to be collapsing and cracks appeared. It was as if it was going to destroy Du Xiaofu's physical body. If Du Xiaofu's physical body was a little weaker, it would have been crushed. But even so, the terrible power of the seal was crushing down. There were ancient runes that strangely impacted Du Xiaofu's physical body, causing it to crack. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's immortal Xian body was useless in this strange void passage. He couldn't restore his physical body. Du Xiaofu's physical body was comparable to all treasures below divine artifacts. But at this moment, it was cracking. It was enough to show how terrible the crushing power in the void was. In an instant, the void kept changing. Qi Yeshi's beautiful figure disappeared. Rumble. The wind and clouds in the surrounding passage surged. The rumbling sound was sonorous. Violent energy surged and kept attacking Du Xiaofu. Walala. Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings that had just been withdrawn appeared on his back again. He activated the 36 true rock feathers and raised his speed to the limit. Profound energy surged within his body. Du Xiaofu was using all his strength. He flapped his wings and flew forward quickly. He wanted to enter the heavenly devil battlefield through the crushing void passage. Crackle, a purplish gold bolt of lightning shot out. It carried an aura of destruction and dazzling lightning runes. It directly struck Du Xiaofu's physical body, making it impossible for Du Xiaofu to dodge. The lightning strike caused Du Xiaofu's hair to stand on end. The terrifying force of destruction had exceeded the region realm, and even an ordinary peak expert at the Overlord region realm would probably perish if they were struck by such a strike. However, Du Xiaofu managed to withstand it. Although his body was already cracking, when the lightning landed on his body, it actually helped. It was like injecting a refreshing agent into his cracked body, nourishing the thunder martial vein in his body. Immediately, the thunder martial vein covered the surface of his body. However, the burning pain from the lightning's impact was extraordinary. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but cry out in pain. Swish! Swish! All of a sudden, a number of attacks shot out from the void. Du Xiaofu wanted to dodge, but the attacks were densely packed. He couldn't dodge all of them. Soon, he was struck by several attacks and injured his physical body. I have to charge out. Otherwise, I'll be in big trouble. Du Xiaofu realized that he was in real trouble. It was even more troublesome than what Qi Yeshi had said. The remnant sealing power was too terrifying. It seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. If he didn't find a way to leave, he would probably be trapped and in danger. Hum. A dazzling light turned into a sharp blade in the void and slashed at Du Xiaofu. It carried a mysterious force as it distorted the void and tried to imprison Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu flapped his wings and activated the 36 true rock feathers to the extreme. He also used the wave-like free steps at full strength. He was unpredictable and graceful as he dodged the attack with an astonishing movement technique. Swish, however, many strands of hair on the back of Du Xiaofu's head were cut off. It was extremely dangerous and he gasped in fear. Rumble, the void was collapsing. The situation was getting more and more dangerous and worse. Du Xiaofu found it harder and harder to deal with it. He even used the pair of true dragon horns on his body. However, after a while, there were more wounds on his body. Faint golden blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. I can't go on like this. Du Xiaofu pondered in his heart. If this continued, he would really die here. The void was even suppressing his cultivation and burning his profound qi. The pair of true dragon horns that had transformed into 2 golden dragons that circled around him also began to dim. Hum. Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the void. The purple gold light overflowed into the sky. Du Xiaofu did not hesitate and directly activated the purple thunder profound cauldron in his body. The appearance of the purple thunder profound cauldron caused the void to tremble. Du Xiaofu expanded the purple thunder profound cauldron and covered his body. He then hid inside the purple thunder profound cauldron. Rumble, the chaotic and violent attacks in the void kept attacking the purple thunder profound cauldron. The bright light was like a divine fire burning. But then, a strange scene appeared. That violent and terrifying attack, the terrifying crushing force in the void, suddenly began to dissipate and disappear into nothingness when it landed on the purple thunder profound cauldron. Hum, the purple thunder profound cauldron rotated and passed through the void. The purple gold lightning was dazzling. Not long after, it was pushed out by a huge and irresistible force. Chapter 1885. Boom. The void rumbled as a 3-legged cauldron of electric arcs struck the ground from the depths of the void, exploding like a bomb. Electric arcs surged, and the ground cracked as if a meteorite had crashed. A huge crater was created in the ground, and dust filled the air as the ground cracked. The purple thunder profound cauldron shrank and turned into a purple gold flowing light that returned to the palm of his hand. Du Xiaofu appeared in the crater. His body was somewhat deformed, and there were faint traces of dried golden blood on his body. His clothes were ragged, and his aura was chaotic. He had suffered heavy injuries. Du Xiaofu flew out of the crater and looked around. The sky was gray, and at the end of the void in the distance, there was a halo hanging in the sky. He didn't know whether it was the moon or the sun, but the light was dim and covered by a large red blood mist. The surrounding mountains were rugged and magnificent, but there were no signs of life. There were only some unknown weeds and plants scattered on the ground. Is this the heavenly devil battlefield? I'm finally here. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. He seemed a little weak. I haven't reached the Saint Realm yet. Why is it so difficult to enter? Du Xiaofu muttered. That void passage was too terrifying. Those below the Saint Realm couldn't enter, and he hadn't reached the Saint Realm yet, but it was still so difficult. He had almost died to enter. However, a smile soon appeared on Du Xiaofu's face, as though he had just survived a calamity. He consoled himself. From a certain point of view, the fact that the remnant power of the seal was able to obstruct him meant that he was exceptionally strong. After taking a deep breath, Du Xiaofu circulated the qi in his body. He felt an invisible suppression in the heavenly devil battlefield, and he was enduring a huge pressure. This change made Du Xiaofu feel that Qi Yeshi was right. Saint Realm experts couldn't enter the heavenly devil battlefield, and even if they did, they would be suppressed by the heavenly devil battlefield. The surroundings were silent. Du Xiaofu released his consciousness, but his sharp soul perception didn't detect anything special. There were no living creatures around, and he couldn't find Qi Yeshi's whereabouts. With her strength, she should be facing less resistance than me. There shouldn't be any problem. Du Xiaofu thought to himself. With Qi Yeshi's strength and cultivation, she should be able to protect herself in the heavenly devil battlefield. I'll recover first, then plan. At the moment, Du Xiaofu's Qi Yeshi, in this dangerous heavenly devil battlefield was full of dangers. Heavenly devil battlefield was filled with danger. Du Xiaofu was heavenly devil battlefield was dangerous. Soon after, Du Xiaofu found a place nearby and set up a simple restriction. Then, he sat down cross-legged and began to regulate his breathing. In the dark mountain range, a dozen figures were shuttling back and forth between the mountain peaks. They had concealed their auras and were hiding. It was obvious that they did not dare to fly high in the sky, as if they were hiding from something. The auras of these 10 figures were not weak. They were all martial royal realm. Among them, there was a white-haired old man whose aura was at the martial honorable realm. However, in the heavenly devil battlefield, such a level of cultivation could only be considered ordinary. Among the dozen or so people, there was a young and pretty girl who was probably only 17 or 18 years old. She was clearly being protected by the crowd, whether intentionally or not. Damn it! They are robbing us. We found the cave abode first, and the treasure recognized us as its owner. Yet, they still want to kill us. A young man was angry. His face was full of anger and unwillingness. He was about 20 years old. His cultivation was in the martial emperor realm, and he could be considered a genius. However, this youth seemed to have been ravaged and suppressed. His cultivation base and talent couldn't be compared to those supreme geniuses in the current heavenly devil battlefield. It's our Wei family's fault for being weaker than them. They are the school of vertical and horizontal. We were only able to escape when the ancient era's cave abode collapsed. Those people from the school of vertical and horizontal will not let this go. They will definitely chase after us. A middle-aged man said with a serious expression. If those people from the school of vertical and horizontal really do catch up to us, their target will only be me. When that happens, I will bear all the responsibility. Uncles and brothers, please leave first. We cannot allow our Wei clan to fall in this heavenly devil battlefield. The delicate and pretty young girl frowned slightly, her face somewhat pale. No. The middle-aged man said to the young girl, Jia Jia, you are our Wei family's hope. This time, you have the extraordinary ancient era's treasure recognized you as its owner. You have a bright future ahead of you. Nothing can happen to you. However, the school of vertical and horizontal is not something we can stop right now. If we reach the end, please don't sacrifice your lives for me. The school of vertical and horizontal is too powerful. They are one of the 9 great families. They are not something we can fight against. The only ones who can fight against them are the desolate country of the central province. Unfortunately, our Wei family is far inferior to the desolate country. The young girl bit her red lips, leaving teeth marks. As one of the 9 great families, the school of vertical and horizontal was not something a small Wei family could fight against. Once the people from the school of vertical and horizontal caught up to them, the consequences were obvious. In the current world, other than the 8 great families of the 9 great families, the dragons, the phoenixes, the golden-winged rocks, and other supreme beast clans, only the desolate country of the central province would not fear the school of vertical and horizontal. Unfortunately, although the Wei family had some reputation in Shang province, they were far inferior to the Saman sword sect. How could they compare to the desolate country, which was like the sun in the sky? It was said that only the desolate country of the central province would dare to fight against the school of vertical and horizontal. Alright, if the people from the school of vertical and horizontal really do catch up to us, we won't be able to escape. The white-haired old man spoke. His eyes glowed as he spoke in a low voice, but for the future of our Wei family, Jia and your cousins will leave first. The rest of you will block the people from the school of vertical and horizontal with me. Even if we have to put our lives on the line, we must leave behind the bloodline and hope of our Wei family. Alright, all of you listen well. Do as your great-grandfather says. Take good care of Jia. She is the future hope of our Wei family. The middle-aged man who had spoken earlier spoke in a low voice as he instructed the younger generation. In the quiet space, spatial fluctuations gradually appeared in the air, and black fog surged. Silently, from the depths of the mountain, several beast silhouettes appeared. They were only a few dozen feet long and looked like jackals and wolves. They had sharp fangs, and their eyes flickered with a black and red light. Just based on their ferocious auras, they were all at the Beast Emperor realm. A total of 5 strange and ferocious beasts appeared quietly like a pack of wolves looking for food. Their ferocious eyes were fixed on Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged and adjusting his breathing. They slowly surrounded Du Xiaofu from behind. Suddenly, the 5 strange and ferocious beasts released a terrifying aura that shook the space. They pounced towards Du Xiaofu's juniors at the same time. They opened their bloody mouths and roared ferociously. Their terrifying auras swept out like a gale. Chapter 1886. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, at that moment, there was the sound of rushing wind. 5 streaks of light pierced through the air like lightning and instantly appeared behind the 5 ferocious beasts. They were 5 flying daggers that were only about 3 inches long. They were covered in runes and looked as if they were alive. They pierced through the backs of the 5 ferocious beasts and flew out from between their brows. Blood splattered everywhere and the 5 ferocious beasts fell to the ground with a thud. At that moment, the golden light on Du Xiaofu's body, who was sitting cross-legged, retracted into his body. His resolute face instantly changed and turned into an unfamiliar face. This face was also very young, but there was an additional scar at the corner of his eye. His body shape had also changed quite a bit. All of this happened very quickly. After finishing all of this, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. The golden light retracted and the restrictions set up around him also quietly disappeared. Whoosh, whoosh, at the same time, a dozen figures also appeared not far behind Du Xiaofu. 5 flying daggers spun around and merged into one before finally flying into the space between the brows of a delicate and pretty young girl. It was this young girl who had attacked and dealt with the 5 strange ferocious beasts that had pounced on Du Xiaofu's back. Jia, don't cause any more trouble. Let's leave this place quickly. A middle-aged man spoke to the young girl who had attacked with a hint of blame in his voice. These demonic beasts have already been demonized. Their bones and blood have all been affected. Using them for cultivation and comprehension will only cause one to go crazy. What a pity. However, the young men and women felt that it was a pity. If these demonic beasts were killed in the outside world, it would be a huge windfall. It was a pity that the demonic beasts in the heavenly demon battlefield had already been demonized and turned into demonic beasts. Using the bones and blood of demonic beasts to cultivate would only do more harm than good. Many thanks. Du Xiaofu rose to his feet and swept his gaze across the group of people. Even though they had concealed their auras, the aura of their cultivations could not escape detection. They were all martial emperors. Only the white-haired old man who was their leader had the aura of a beginner martial honor. However, Du Xiaofu paid more attention to the girl who had just attacked. She was young, about 17 or 18 years old, but it was obvious that she was a dual cultivator of martial arts and talisman. Most importantly, Du Xiaofu sensed that the girl's primordial spirit was not weak. In terms of martial arts, it was already at the mysterious level. In terms of talisman, it was even at the 7 stars Nirvana realm. Possessing such a level of cultivation at his age and not falling behind in both the martial Dao and talisman Dao, his natural talent was absolutely extraordinary. If he was able to obtain the nurturing of cultivation resources, then his future accomplishments could absolutely not be underestimated. As Du Xiaofu turned around, the group of people's gazes also fell on Du Xiaofu. Many of them looked wary. However, looking at Du Xiaofu's ragged body, his body had yet to fully recover, his hair was a mess, and his face was in a sorry state. Moreover, there were no powerful auras coming from him. Thus, those vigilant gazes gradually disappeared. There were even some gazes that became indifferent. They merely glanced at Du Xiaofu indifferently. Even though they did not show any disdain, they still looked down on him. These demonic beasts will appear at any time. You are seriously injured. Be careful when you are alone. The beautiful girl spoke to Du Xiaofu. Her eyes were calm. Then, she said to the white-haired old man and middle-aged man beside her, "Great-grandfather, fourth uncle, let's go." The white-haired old man withdrew his gaze from Du Xiaofu. He was a little curious and nodded slightly. Swoosh swoosh, the group of people then left. No one paid any more attention to Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. He did not expect that he would be attacked by these strange demonic beasts not long after adjusting his breathing. Looking at the corpses of the fearless demonic beasts lying on the ground, Du Xiaofu did not care too much. Just now, if the girl did not make a move, these demonic beasts would have been killed instantly if they had collided with the restrictions he had set up. Moreover, when those demonic beasts had just appeared, Du Xiaofu had already noticed them even though he was adjusting his breathing. Stepping forward, Du Xiaofu curiously examined the 5 demonic beasts. They were not much different from the demonic beasts in the outside world. However, they had been demonized. There was demonic qi in their bodies and blood. Once this demonic qi entered a person's body, it was enough to cause them to go berserk and lose their mind. This is not a place to stay for long. Du Xiaofu frowned slightly. These demonic beasts appeared and disappeared mysteriously. It seemed that he could only recover as he walked. He took out a clean robe from his heaven-earth bag and changed into it. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's eyes moved and his figure disappeared from the spot. Swoosh swoosh, not long after Du Xiaofu's figure disappeared, there was the sound of wind breaking. 5 figures appeared at the place where Du Xiaofu had disappeared. With the appearance of these 5 figures, the surrounding void became hot for no reason. There was an extremely powerful pressure permeating the void. The 5 figures were not old. The oldest was only in his 40s. He was an honorable realm powerhouse. The other 4 were teenagers. The oldest was only in his early 20s. The youngest was only 18 or 19 years old. However, he was already at the peak of the complete martial emperor realm. He was only 1 step away from the honorable realm. It's the aura of those people. They just left not long ago. Quickly chase them. Those ancient treasures are not something they can have. The leader, a middle-aged man in his 40s, spoke. His eyes were like flames. The 5 figures only lingered for a moment. Then, they quickly chased after the beautiful girl and her group. When the 5 figures disappeared, Du Xiaofu's figure quietly appeared from the void. The school of vertical and horizontal. There was a cold light in his eyes. He looked in the direction that the girl and her group had left. Golden light flashed under his feet. Du Xiaofu followed closely behind. Overlapping mountains, a dark canyon. On a towering boulder, 5 figures looked down from above. Their bodies were emitting a blazing aura. Runes flashed, dazzling and blazing. The 5 figures looked down at the 10 or so people who were clustered in the canyon. Their faces were solemn and pale. Their eyes were filled with pity and disdain. The leader, a middle-aged man, waved his long sleeve. The surrounding void trembled faintly. He said, "You dare to take something that belongs to the school of vertical and horizontal. How dare you? We saw that cave first. The school of vertical and horizontal took it by force. You bullied us and killed our relatives. How can you be so unreasonable?" Among the 10 or so people who were blocked in the canyon, a beautiful girl spoke. Her face was full of anger. At that moment, even though the dozen or so people were extremely furious, merely by sensing the presences of the 5 people from the school of vertical and horizontal looking down at them from above, they felt an invisible suppression and their hearts tremble. "Let's do as we agreed. You guys go. We'll stop them." The white-haired elder's voice rang in everyone's ears. His aged face was extremely serious. "You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.